Chapter 22-23. Chapter 22-23. Dandan reveals her true form. Chapter 22-23. Chapter 2223. Dandan reveals her true form. Lu Ming's courage mounted as the battle progressed. Even though the lone shadow used 3 types of laws, 2 of which were at the second realm, they were still blocked by Lu Ming and could not do anything to him. Buzz. Suddenly Gu Yingzhong's sword buzzed, and the sword light became even more brilliant. This is the 4th law. This time even Lu Ming was shocked. Gu Yingzhong had actually mastered a 4th type of law, which was also a king path law. Fortunately, it was only at Rhe first realm, not the second realm. But this was no small matter. A 3-star illusionary emperor, and at such a young age at that. Yet he had already mastered 4 types of laws. 1 ultimate law and 3 king path laws. Furthermore, the strongest law and 1 of the king path laws had reached the second realm. The other 2 king path laws were also at the completion of the first realm. This kind of talent could be said to be shocking. For example, Lan Yun and Van Shi, who were known as the top geniuses of the heaven realm, were about the same age as Gu Yingzhong, but they had only mastered 2 types of laws. I didn't expect the Gu family to produce another top-notch heaven's favorite. Dandan whispered, her eyes also revealing a look of admiration. Many of the Gu family's people also revealed proud expressions. Boom. Using the 4th type of nomological law, although it was only at the completion of the first realm, it still increased Gu Yingzhong's strength. This time Lu Ming was sent flying. Lu Ming, I have to admit that your abilities are indeed shocking. It's the first time I've seen you in my life. On account that it wasn't easy for you to cultivate, I'll forget about today's matter. You can leave. Gu Ying said. Many thanks. Lu Ming cupped his fist. Gu Yingzhong could indeed be considered a gentleman. Not everyone had such magnanimity. However, Lu Ming's purpose for coming here today had not been achieved. How could he leave just like that? But our battle is not over yet. Lu Ming smiled again. You still haven't used your full strength? Gu Yingzhong's eyes narrowed as he spoke. Of course. Lu Ming smiled. The color of the death sword in his hand became even more dazzling. There were now 2 more colors. It was the laws of alchemy and weapons. 6 types of laws. Gu Yingzhong exclaimed in shock, his eyes revealing a look of disbelief. The other members of the Gu family were also shocked. He had yet to become a saint emperor, but he could actually control 6 types of laws. This was simply unbelievable. Could it be that the legend was true? That one of their ancestors had also mastered many laws before he became a sovereign? At first, some people were skeptical about the legend of their ancestor who had yet to become a sovereign, but had already mastered multiple nomological laws. This was because such a thing was simply too unbelievable. Moreover, such a long time had passed, so who knew if this legend was true or false? However, after seeing Lu Ming today, they knew that the legend was true. However, their shock was not over yet. A hammer appeared in Lu Ming's left hand. The Chaos Hammer. It was formed by the laws of chaos and the other 6 laws. This time, the Gu family members were completely stunned. Even Gu Yingzhong was the same. They only reacted after a long time. My God, an ultimate maxim, 2 ultimate maxims. A person who hasn't even become a sovereign not only controls many laws but also 2 ultimate laws at the same time. How did he do it? Unbelievable, unbelievable. Regardless of whether they were the older or younger members of the Gu family, they were all shocked beyond words. Controlling 2 ultimate maxims had completely broken their understanding of maxims. Naturally they were shocked. Buzz, buzz, buzz. At this moment, a group of people flew out from the depths of the purple bamboo forest. There were at least 100 of them, and a few of them were emitting shocking cultivation. They were all great emperors. Lu Ming sighed to himself. The heaven realm was indeed worthy of its name. It had been passed down for countless years and its experts were indeed amazing. It was just a lone family bird. There were already 4 to 5 great emperors. It was hard to imagine. For example, there weren't many great emperors in the entire region of Mount Yuan. In fact, it wasn't that the primordial realm's strength was that far from Rhe heaven realm's. There was a difference, but it was not so ridiculous. The main thing was that many strong practitioners of Rhe primordial realm had left the primordial realm and come to the heaven realm to participate in the war and cultivate. Some of the overlord forces in the divine fared land were also very powerful, and there were many experts who stayed there. Greetings, Patriarch. The members of the Gu family all bowed to a middle-aged man. This person was the Gu family's master. Alright, let's end this battle here. The master of the Gu family spoke. Yes. Gu Ying nodded, retracted his aura and rook a few steps back. The Gu family's master looked at Lu Ming in amazement. I didn't expect that there would be such a person in the world. He hasn't even become a sovereign, but he has mastered so many laws, even 2 ultimate laws. What a miracle. Master Gu is too kind, but it's a pity that it's difficult to become an emperor. Lu Ming sighed. Indeed, my Gu family's ancestor also had an extremely talented figure. He controlled many nomological laws before he became a sovereign. It's a pity that he didn't become a sovereign in the end. You all came here because you heard the legend of my Gu family's ancestor, right? The Gu family's master said. Yes, that's true. Lu Ming nodded. Since you have a favor to ask of me, why did you insult my ancestors? An old man from the Gu family walked out, his face still somewhat indignant. The Gu family's master also looked at Dandan. What insult? What do you juniors know? I already know Gu Xingyue Gu Xing Tian, and that Gu Ling Tian who has mastered many types of nomological laws even before he became a great emperor is my good friend. Dandan said loudly. You still dare to? The people of the Gu family were furious. The master of the Gu family raised his hand, and the people of the Gu family quieted down. May I ask who you are? The master of the Gu family asked. Then you guys should see clearly. Dandan curled his lips, and his body suddenly changed into his original body. Then, his body rapidly grew in size, turning into an incomparably huge tortoise that floated in the sky. This is the legendary top 10 battle beast, the world turtle. Someone exclaimed in shock. All the members of the Gu family widened their eyes. The top 10 war beasts had already become legends and were no longer seen. In the battle of the ancient past, the top 10 war beasts had either died or were injured. They had long disappeared. Many people speculated that the top 10 war beasts might have all died in battle. He didn't expect that one of the top 10 war beasts, the world turtle, would actually appear here. Is it the legendary senior turtle? The master of the Gu family was the first to react. Of course, you're my old man. The giant turtle opened its mouth and quickly shrank, turning back into the appearance of a little Taoist priest. Senior turtle, what's with your cultivation? The master of the Gu family asked with a respectful attitude. That was because there were indeed records in the Gu family's ancient books that a few of the Gu family's ancestors had a close relationship with the divine turtle of the world. Chapter 22-24. I can become a divine emperor. Chapter 22-24. I can become a divine emperor. Sigh, it's all because of that battle back then that I almost died. If it weren't for my unparalleled divine skills, you wouldn't have been able to see me. Dandan started sighing, but she quickly regained her spirits and said, Who's the oldest in the Gu family now? The oldest member of the Gu family is Ancestor Ling Tian's son, Ancestor Gu Xinghue. Gu Xinghue, so it's that little brat. Ask him to come and see me. Dandan said in a carefree manner, with the appearance of a senior expert. The other members of the Gu family felt their eyelids twitching, and their expressions turned ugly. Gu Xinghue was the old ancestor of the Gu family. He had lived since the ancient times and had lived for a long time. Now he was called a little brat. What were they then? However, when he remembered that the other party was the world turtle from back then, he felt at ease. Back then the top 10 war beasts were all peak experts. The number of years they had lived was also shocking. Senior turtle, please wait a moment. I'll go report this to the ancestor. The master of the Gu family cupped his fists and walked towards the palace in the depths of the Gu family. Lu Ming and the rest did not have to wait long before they saw the master of the Gu family and an old man with white hair flying over. The old man had a ruddy complexion and white hair. He was in high spirits and his eyes were extremely bright. The master of the Gu family followed behind the old man with a respectful expression. We pay our respects to the ancestor. The Gu family members bowed to the old man at the same time. Needless to say, this person was the oldest ancestor of the Gu family, Gu Xinghue. No need to be so polite. Gu Xinghue waved his hand and looked at Dandan. He spread out his spiritual sense to sense Dandan's aura, and a hint of joy appeared on his face. Senior turtle, it's you? Haha, that's me. You little brat, I haven't seen you for so many years and you've become so old. Haha, I'm still the younger one. Dandan laughed. Senior turtle, I just heard that there's a young brother who has yet to become a sovereign, but he has already mastered many nomological laws, even 2 ultimate maxims. Are you here for the method left behind by father? Gu Xinghue asked directly. That's right. I heard that Gu Lingtian has been researching for his entire life, and when he was about to die he gained a lot. So, one want to see what he has found. Dandan said. Gu Xinghue looked at Lu Ming in surprise. He had lived for a long time. When he heard that someone could control so many laws, even 2 ultimate laws before becoming a sovereign, Even he couldn't help but be shocked and curious. "Little brother, can you show me your nomological laws?" Gu Xinghui said. "All right." Lu Ming nodded. With a thought, 7 types of laws appeared one after another. Gu Xinghui's eyes were extremely bright as he sighed repeatedly, "Miracle, what a miracle!" After a while he said, "My father did have a great breakthrough back then. He said that he finally found the way to become a saint emperor. Unfortunately he couldn't reach it himself. He could only leave it to the fated." Lu Ming's eyes lit up and his heart could not help but beat faster. Gu Xinghui's words obviously meant that Gu Lingtian had really found a way back then. Gu Lingtian is indeed a rare hero. I didn't expect him to find a way. It's a pity for him. If he wasn't so ambitious, his achievements wouldn't be any less than mine. Dandan sighed. It was rare to see such an exaggerated person. Gu Xinghui's eyes were also a little dim. "Senior Turtle, please follow me," said Gu Xinghui. Then, he made a gesture of invitation and walked towards the depths of the Gu family. Lu Ming, Dandan, and Mulan followed. The other members of the Gu family also left. Lu Ming and the other 2 followed Gu Xinghui and flew across a large area of halls, arriving at a peaceful place. It was very quiet here, and there was only a small house made of purple bamboo. It was quiet and elegant. There was a small courtyard outside the small house. There was a stone table with a few stone stools beside it. "Senior Turtle, please take a seat. I'll be right back," Gu Xinghui said and then walked into the bamboo house. After a while he took out a bronze box and walked out. "This is what my father left behind," Gu Xinghui said. Then he opened the bronze box and a jade box appeared. "My father put all his research in this jade box. However, no one has been able to open it since my father passed away. There is a formation on it. If you open it by force, the jade box and the things inside it will be destroyed," Gu Xinghui said. "It can't be opened? It can't be." Dandan was speechless. Lu Ming's heart sank. That's right. However, in guessing that father wants to leave it for someone fated, such as young brother Lu Ming, who has yet to become a great emperor but has already mastered many types of laws. "Young brother Lu Ming, you can take a look at it. Perhaps you can open it." Gu Xinghui passed the jade box to Lu Ming. Lu Ming took it and studied it carefully. The surface of the jade box was covered with dense runes. Lu Ming looked at it for a long time but could not find anything. "Let me see," Dandan shouted. Lu Ming passed the jade box to Dandan and she studied it carefully. He was an expert in formations and as expected he had made a huge discovery. His eyes lit up and he said, "No wonder no one can open it. It turns out that it requires such conditions." "Ah, Dandan, you can tell?" Lu Ming asked. "Of course, don't you know who I am? The head of the top 10 battle beasts, the world god turtle. I can't see it without a formation. If you want to open this jade box, you need 2 conditions. First, I need to use saint energy. Second, 5 types of nomological laws need to be used at the same time, but there are no rules on which 5 types of nomological laws to use. These 2 conditions are very simple individually, but when put together, it's very harsh because the 2 conditions need to be completed by the same person," Dandan explained. The few of them were stunned for a moment before they immediately reacted. This condition was very obvious. It required a person who had yet to become a divine emperor but could master 5 types of laws at the same time. This was what Gu Lingtian had left for people like him. "Lu Ming, take it and try it." Dandan handed the jade box to Lu Ming. Lu Ming took it and circulated his holy power according to Dandan's instructions. He controlled the 5 types of laws at the same time and shrouded the jade box. But, as expected, the jade box started to move. It began to glow and the runes on it flowed. Finally, with a kacha sound, the jade box opened. There was a jade token in the jade box. "It's open." Gu Xinghui was also very excited. Lu Ming, Dandan, and Mulan were also very excited. "Lu Ming, hurry up and take a look. Is there a way for you to successfully vindicate your Tao and become an emperor?" Dandan said excitedly. Lu Ming took a deep breath, took out the jade card, and sank his spiritual sense into it. "My life is Gu Lingtan." Immediately, a voice rang in Lu Ming's mind. After a long while, Lu Ming put down the jade token and looked surprised. There's really a way. I can become an emperor." Chapter 22-25. Another Path, Understanding Ancient Tree? Chapter 22-25. Another Path Understanding Ancient Tree. Lu Ming found out about Gu Lingtian's life from the jade token. Gu Lingtian was a peerless talent and a peerless heaven's favorite. He was the most dazzling star in the heaven realm during that era. However, Gu Lingtian's heart was higher than the sky. He He wanted to walk a different path, a path that no one had ever walked before, or a path that no one had ever walked. Before he had become a monarch, he had actually relied on his terrifying talent to cultivate several types of laws. He wanted to use the many types of laws to create a small world when he became a monarch. Unfortunately, he did not walk this path in the end. He was blocked, and this block would last a lifetime. Gu Lingtian had spent his entire life researching, and he had finally found a way in his later years. To be able to control so many laws before becoming a monarch, one had to pay attention to balance. This was because it was too difficult to condense the world core with many types of laws when one became a great emperor. The laws would collide with each other and burst out with terrifying forces that would tear the saint heart in the body. That was why it was difficult to become an emperor. However, as long as the many laws reached a balance, there would be no tearing force, and one could successfully evolve the saint heart and become an emperor. However, it was very difficult to achieve a balance among the many laws. On this issue, he wasn't the son of God and had an advantage. Since he was the son of God and had mastered one ultimate law, it would be difficult to achieve a balance if he mastered other laws. According to Gu Lingtian's speculations, a king body that could control 3, 6, or 9 king path laws would be able to reach a balance and become a monarch. However, in history, those who had the ability and talent to control multiple laws before becoming a saint emperor were all children of God who controlled the strongest laws. No matter how he matched it, it would be difficult to achieve a balance between the many laws. This was because an ultimate maxim was too powerful, and it was difficult for other maxims to maintain a balance with an ultimate maxim. Gu Lingtian speculated that if a person could control 3 supreme laws and 6 king path laws, they would be able to maintain a balance and successfully develop the world core. Or, a person who could control 6 or 9 ultimate maxims could also develop the world core. 3 types of ultimate laws and 6 types of king path laws. I can definitely do it. Lu Ming's eyes were exceptionally bright and his heart was overwhelmed with ecstasy. He had already mastered 2 ultimate laws and 5 king path laws. He could completely comprehend another ultimate law and king path law. Gu Lingtian had also mentioned that these laws had to be at the same level to maintain balance. For example, if one of the laws had reached the second realm and the rest were at the first realm, that would not work. Lu Ming was secretly glad that he had not reached the second realm of his laws. As long as he cultivated all these laws to the first realm perfection, he would be able to vindicate his Tao and become a monarch. Lu Ming's words made Dandan and Mulan overjoyed. Lu Ming, quick, let me take a look. Dandan shouted. Lu Ming passed the jade card to Dandan and she immediately looked at it. After reading it, Dandan fell silent and passed the jade token to Gu Xinghui. After that, Mulan also took it and looked at it. It's a pity. Gu Lingtian is indeed a genius. He mastered an ultimate law and 8 king path laws, but he couldn't reach a balance and become a monarch. Dandan sighed. Gu Xinghui's eyes were filled with sadness. The method recorded by my father seems simple, but it's actually extremely difficult to achieve it. Before becoming a sovereign, it's impossible for ordinary people to master multiple nomological laws. Only the child of God has the talent to do so. However, it's impossible for one person to master more than 2 ultimate maxims at the same time. Therefore, almost no one can achieve such conditions. In my opinion, the method that father developed is completely tailor-made for brother Lu Ming. Gu Xinghui sighed. That's right, that's right. Dandan also sighed. Mulan was also happy for Lu Ming. Brother Lu Ming, I hope that you can vindicate your Tao and become a saint emperor. This way you will have fulfilled my father's last wish. Gu Xinghui said. Definitely. Lu Ming was extremely determined. How about this? It'll take you to a place that will help you comprehend many laws. It will help you become a divine emperor earlier. Gu Xinghui said. After that, Gu Xinghui stepped into the air and left. Lu Ming, Dandan, and Mulan followed him. They headed towards the depths of the purple bamboo forest. Not long after, they arrived in front of a huge ancient tree. This ancient tree was hundreds of meters tall and was as thick as a dozen people hugging it. Gu Xinghui waved his hand, and a light door appeared on the ancient tree. So, there's a small world hidden here. Lu Ming's heart stirred. It was obvious that the door of light on the ancient tree was the entrance to the small world. Gu Xinghui entered the door of light. Lu Ming and the rest also entered one by one. As soon as he entered the door of light, he arrived in another world. The laws here are so clear. One feel refreshed and my heart is empty. As soon as they entered the small world, Lu Ming and the rest felt that something was amiss. This was especially true for Lu Ming. He felt as if he was cultivating under the path understanding ancient tree. Follow me. Gu Xinghui smiled and left. After flying for a long distance they came to a mountain range. However, this mountain range was barren. There was no vegetation at all, only a giant tree in the middle of the mountain range. That is, the path understanding ancient tree. Lu Ming was dumbfounded at the sight of the huge tree. Yes, there was indeed a path understanding ancient tree here. Although the species was different from the one that Lu Ming had, it was indeed the path understanding ancient tree. This path understanding ancient tree could not be compared to the one Lu Ming had. Lu Ming's one had already taken root on one of the mountain peaks in the mountain and river diagram. It was more than 30 meters tall. However, the one in front of him was at least 1,000 meters tall. The ancient tree towered into the sky, and its branches were surrounded by the great Tao. Everyone felt their hearts become empty, and their minds became incomparably clear. It was many times more effective than the one that Lu Ming had. Good, your Gu family actually secretly cultivated a path understanding ancient tree. Amazing. Dandan grinned and sighed, her eyes shining. It's a pity that it hasn't fully matured even after countless years of cultivation. Gu Xinghui sighed. It's already not bad that it could grow to 1,000 meters tall. I had one back then, but it was destroyed in the great battle before it matured. He cast a glance at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. His path understanding ancient tree was cultivated from a withered branch. That withered branch appeared together with Dandan back then and they obtained it together. Could it be that it was Dandan's? This was very possible. You can cultivate here from now on. Gu Xinghui said. Ah, good. Lu Ming, this is the most suitable place for you at your current stage. Dandan said to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded. Indeed. His main focus now was to comprehend the laws, so this place was indeed very suitable for him. Chapter 22-26, The 8th and 9th Laws. Chapter 22-26, The 8th and 9th Laws. The Gu family's path understanding ancient tree was already 1,000 meters tall. It was much more effective than his own path understanding ancient tree. It was the most suitable place to comprehend the laws. You guys can cultivate here. If you need anything, just send me a message. Gu Xinghui left them a voice transmission jade talisman and disappeared with a flash. The three of them headed toward the path understanding ancient tree. As they neared, they discovered that a few people were sitting cross-legged under the path understanding ancient tree, cultivating. It was obvious that they were from the Gu family. Lu Ming finally understood why Gu Yingqiong could control 4 types of laws at such a young age. 2 of them had even reached the 2nd level. It definitely had a lot to do with the path understanding ancient tree. Someone in the Gu family sensed the arrival of the 3 of them. He opened his eyes and looked at the 3 of them in surprise. It was because he did not know Lu Ming and the other 2. However, he was only surprised and didn't say much. This was because this was the Gu family's secret place. Without the Gu family's higher-ups leading the way, no one would be able to find it. Obviously, Lu Ming, Dandan, and Mulan were able to come in because they were brought here by the Gu family's higher-ups. Since it was the Gu family's higher-ups who brought them here, he naturally would not say anything. Nodding at Lu Ming and the other 2, the person closed his eyes and continued cultivating. You 2 can cultivate here. I'm going to find a place to enter seclusion and break through to the true Emperor realm. Dandan said. I hope you break through soon. Otherwise, when I become a Saint Emperor, 111 catch up to you very soon. Lu Ming said with a smile. In your dreams, you think you can catch up to me? Dandan pouted unhappily, then her figure flashed and she disappeared in an instant. Lu Ming and Mulan went to the path understanding ancient tree. They each found a blue stone and sat cross-legged on it. The Tao comprehension ancient tree was thousands of meters tall and extremely huge. Great Tao surrounded its branches and leaves. It was very useful for comprehending nomological laws or divine power techniques here. One have to comprehend 9 types of laws, 3 types of ultimate laws and 6 types of king path laws. I'm still missing 1 type of ultimate law and 1 type of king path law. Which 2 should I comprehend? Lu Ming started to think. If it's a king path law, why don't one comprehend the penetration law? Lu Ming's heart stirred. The law of penetration had an amazing penetrative power. If he could comprehend it, his attack power would increase a lot. Furthermore, the 6 feathered divine wings that Dandan had passed on to Lu Ming contained 6 types of laws. Besides the Array Dao Law, the Alchemy Dao Law, and the Equipment Dao Law, the Penetration Law was also one of them. After comprehending the Penetration Law, one's body would be able to fly through all obstacles. The increase in speed was also very shocking, so it was included in the 6 feathered divine wings. The 6 feathered divine wings' power would also increase exponentially after comprehending the Penetration Law. After setting the King Path Law, he had to decide which supreme law to comprehend. Of the remaining 8 ultimate maxims, Lu Ming had the highest hopes for the law of fate. This was because the laws of fate were indeed incomparably profound and powerful. However, the law of fate had an extremely high requirement for one's talent, and it was also the most difficult to cultivate. Lu Ming thought for a while and shook his head. He ruled out the law of fate. Now that I have the chaos and death laws, I'm not weak in terms of attack. The next law doesn't necessarily have to increase its attack power. It's also very important to increase its defense or vitality. Then the life law. In the end, Lu Ming made the decision to study the life law. Lu Xiangxiang had a body of life, so Lu Ming was much more familiar with the life laws. Also, once one grasped the life law, their vitality would become extremely astonishing. Even if they suffered some fatal injuries, they would be able to quickly recover, greatly increasing their ability to survive. For the next 2 types of laws, Lu Ming decided to comprehend the life law and the penetration law. Closing his eyes, Lu Ming's mind became empty. His mind and spirit became one with the heaven and earth, capturing the fluctuations of the law. Penetrate everything, nothing can stop it, Lu Ming murmured. He was enlightened. As Lu Ming comprehended more and more laws, he had more and more experience in comprehending the laws. His comprehension became more and more efficient. In just a few days he had already grasped the basics of the penetration law. Half a month later, Lu Ming successfully comprehended the life law. Now he had already mastered 9 types of nomological laws. What he needed to do now was to increase the maturity of his nomological laws. The laws of Pill Dao, the laws of Equipment Dao, the laws of penetration, and the laws of life. Now, Lu Ming still had 4 types of laws that had not reached the completion of the first realm. However, he had already mastered about 90% of the alchemy and Equipment Dao laws. Lu Ming focused on the 4 types of laws. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. On this day there was thunder and lightning in the distance. Lu Ming, who was cultivating, and the people of the Gu family all opened their eyes. Someone became a monarch and underwent the monarch tribulation. Someone from the Gu family murmured. Senior sister Mulan is about to become a divine emperor. Lu Ming revealed a smile. Mulan had received the inheritance of a peerless expert. The inheritance process had lasted for 5 years. In these 5 years, Mulan's cultivation had soared to the limit of emperor to be before it stopped. Mulan was just a step away from becoming a saint emperor. Now, after more than half a year of accumulation and polishing, Mulan had finally overcome the bottleneck and transcended the tribulation to become a divine emperor. Lu Ming took a step forward and stood not far away from Mulan. Mulan's entire body was covered in a layer of blood-red light, which turned into streams of attacks to resist the heavenly tribulation. It seemed that Mulan was still quite relaxed. Not long after, Mulan successfully transcended the heavenly tribulation. Boom. At this moment, a shocking change occurred within Mulan's body. It was the evolution of her saint heart. Her saint energy had turned into world energy, and a faint emperor's might emanated from her body. Half an hour later, Mulan's aura finally stabilized and she had officially entered the martial emperor realm. Congratulations, senior sister. You've proven your Dao and become an emperor. Lu Ming stepped forward and congratulated him. Mulan looked at Lu Ming, her face filled with joy. I'll believe in junior brother, you will become a saint emperor very soon. Not bad, little girl. You've become a divine emperor so quickly. It seems that you're really suitable for the cultivation path of that fellow Shuexiu. A voice was heard, followed by a flash of light, and Dandan's figure appeared. Dandan, you've also broken through? Lu Ming sized up Dandan and asked curiously. Of course, what kind of existence am one? I'll soon break through to the great emperor realm, then the heavenly emperor realm, and finally surpass the past and break into the supreme realm, ha ha ha. Dandan laughed proudly as if she had thought of a beautiful future, her eyes shining. This fellow? Lu Ming despised him, but he was happy for him. Dandan laughed for a while. Lu Ming, come. Let's spar. Let's see how your comprehension of the laws has been going. You're a true emperor now. If I spar with you, wouldn't I just be abused? Lu Ming pursed his lips and rejected immediately. Dandan was the world turtle, one of the top 10 war beasts. Furthermore, his memories had completely recovered and he had mastered many types of nomological laws. Although he had just broken through to the true emperor realm, his combat strength was definitely very shocking. Chapter 22-27. Chapter 22-27, Dandan's Guidance? Chapter 22-27. Chapter 2227 Dandan's Guidance. Ahaha, I know you're afraid of me, but I'm not using world force. I'm just sparring with you using laws of nature. Why are you still afraid? Dandan grinned and gave Lu Ming a sidelong glance. Lu Ming was unhappy, so be it. Let's go. Well, spar further away. After the few of them flew for a distance, they began to fight. Dandan did not use her cultivation to suppress Lu Ming. She only used a little world energy to activate the law and fought with Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming was defeated by Dandan in one move. This made Lu Ming speechless. Was there such a huge difference? Although Dandan had also controlled 9 types of nomological laws, he had also controlled 9 types of nomological laws. However, after colliding with Dandan's nomological laws, his nomological laws were completely vulnerable. Lu Ming, although you've mastered many laws, it's only the crudest fusion. You don't have an ancient scripture that can unleash the full power of these laws, so the power is too weak. Dandan said. It's a pity that there are no ancient scriptures. Lu Ming's face was also bitter. Although he had created the Hammer of Chaos and the Sword of Death, he had only created them not long ago and was far from completion. Their power was also limited. Those ancient sutras were created by others. Those who created them also created them according to the laws they controlled. Right now, you're just inexperienced, so you can't fully exert the divine power you created. If you can fully unleash the nomological laws you've mastered, its power will definitely be stronger than many ancient scriptures. After all, you created it yourself. Dandan explained. Dandan, you have so much experience, why don't you teach me? Lu Ming revealed a smile and looked at Dandan. Haha, now you know how powerful I am. Don't worry, I'm here to spar with you because I want to give you some pointers. Come on, use your full strength. Dandan laughed out loud and was very proud. With one hand behind her back, she had the demeanor of a peerless expert. This time Lu Ming did not expose him. After all, he had a request to make. Buzz. Then Lu Ming's figure flashed. The Hammer of Chaos condensed in his palm and he struck at Dandan. At least 5 types of nomological laws burst out at the same time, forming a finger force that struck the Hammer of Chaos. The Hammer of Chaos shook violently and finally exploded. Lu Ming's Hammer of Chaos also contained 5 types of laws, but it was as easy as tofu. On the other hand, Dandan's 5 types of laws were like steel, crushing Lu Ming's Hammer of Chaos in an instant. Again? Lu Ming then rushed toward Dandan and resisted with the law. However, Lu Ming was completely defeated every time. A day later, Lu Ming was exhausted and he finally stopped. However, Lu Ming had gained a lot from this battle. He was more adept at the use of laws. When he used the Hammer of Chaos or the Sword of Death, the various laws complemented each other and the explosive power increased slightly. Dandan, although she bragged every day and was sometimes unreliable, her experience was really there. Moreover, the divine turtle of the world was also known as the world. It was born with unparalleled control over the laws and was stronger than the other top 10 beasts. Therefore, it could often point out the flaws in Lu Ming's use of the laws and allowed Lu Ming to improve rapidly. Go back and digest this. Well, continue the competition in 7 days. Dandan grinned and walked towards the path of enlightenment. They returned to the path understanding ancient tree and continued cultivating. Previously, Mulan had been watching Lu Ming and Dandan fight. She had learned a lot and needed to digest it. In the days that followed, Lu Ming had one more thing to do, which was to fight with Dandan. Every 7 days he would fight with Dandan once. His comprehension of various laws and the use of laws had improved by leaps and bounds. His mastery of the 4 laws, the law of alchemy, the law of craftsmanship, the law of penetration, and the law of life increased very quickly. After all, he was under the enlightenment ancient tree. Coupled with Lu Ming's own talent, it would be difficult for him not to improve. At the same time, Lu Ming's 2 self-created divine abilities, the Hammer of Chaos and the Sword of Death, were getting more and more powerful. It was not only the original nomological laws, but also the penetration law. One divine power contained 7 types of laws, and its power kept increasing. Finally, after cultivating here for a year, Lu Ming had reached perfection in another law. The laws of alchemy. The law of alchemy had reached perfection and the law had formed a river. Lu Ming's physical body and saint energy had been tempered again and had improved greatly. Without a doubt, Lu Ming's combat strength was also increasing rapidly. After cultivating here for a year and a half, Lu Ming's equipment Dao laws had also reached perfection. At this point, Lu Ming was still left with the penetration law and the life law. He had not reached the completion of the first level. The life law was an ultimate law and its speed of improvement was much slower. On a flat land far away from the path understanding ancient tree, Lu Ming and Dandan continued to fight. Although Lu Ming's strength had increased rapidly, Dandan's improvement was even faster. Lu Ming felt that the 9 types of laws that Dandan controlled had most likely reached the second realm. Naturally, Lu Ming was completely outmatched. The two of them exchanged a blow and Lu Ming retreated. Unfortunately, my ultimate maxim can't be fused together. Lu Ming sighed. Whether it was the Hammer of Chaos or the Sword of Death, both only contained one ultimate law. If he could fuse other ultimate laws into them, his power would probably increase dramatically. However, if the ultimate laws did not merge, it would be too difficult to fuse them. Not necessarily. It's impossible, Dandan said. It said that one person can't control 2 ultimate maxims, but didn't you do it? Since you can control so many ultimate maxims, you can naturally merge them into one divine power. Speaking of which, Lu Ming, your path is completely different from others. If you cultivate the ancient scriptures created by others, you won't be able to unleash your full potential. Other people's ancient scriptures all use a single ultimate maxim as the core, but you've mastered multiple ultimate maxims. If you want to unleash your full potential, you'll have to create it yourself. It was rare for Dandan to be serious and give Lu Ming serious guidance. Lu Ming was greatly touched. That was indeed the case. None of the peerless talents who had created various ancient scriptures had mastered multiple ultimate laws. Most of them had mastered one ultimate law and then combined it with other king path laws and ordinary laws to create it. None of them were suitable for Lu Ming. If Lu Ming wanted to tap into all his potential, he had to create his own ancient scriptures and divine powers. Lu Ming suddenly felt enlightened. He felt that he could see his future path. Dandan, many thanks. Lu Ming thanked Dandan very seriously. Ah, who am one? Am the leader of the top 10 battle beasts, an invincible peerless genius. Do you believe me now? Dandan grinned and laughed, feeling extremely comfortable and happy. Come, continue. Let me guide you so that you can fuse the strongest laws as soon as possible. Dandan shouted, full of energy. Although Dandan had not mastered many ultimate maxims, her experience was very helpful to Lu Ming. However, it was too difficult to merge different ultimate maxims into one sacred art. Lu Ming had tried many times but he still failed. However, they did not give up and had been studying it. Chapter 22-28. The Ancient Indestructible Scroll is Born. Chapter 22-28. The Ancient Indestructible Scroll is born. Winter left and spring came. Time flew by. Lu Ming had been cultivating here for 3 years. After 3 years of hard work, he had reached the first level of perfection in the penetrating laws. Lu Ming's physical body and holy power had become more powerful after being tempered time and time again. His physical strength was extremely strong, and his saint power was extremely condensed. Furthermore, his usage of nomological laws was getting stronger and stronger. The power of the sacred art techniques he created had increased greatly. Compared to 3 years ago, Lu Ming's combat strength had increased by a lot. However, the life law was still a bit off and had not reached perfection. It was still at 99%. Lu Ming was not in a hurry. It was true that it would take longer to cultivate an ultimate maxim, and this was under the path understanding ancient tree. If he were outside, it would be impossible to cultivate so many maxims to the completion of the first realm in 3 years. It was still the same flat land. Lu Ming and Dandan were fighting. Bus. Bus. Lu Ming held the sword of death and slashed continuously. The power was extremely shocking. However, he waved his hand casually and used all kinds of laws to block Lu Ming's attack easily. Just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Lu Ming's gaze was firm and persistent. He was trying to integrate the chaos laws into the sword of death. Just a little bit more melt? Suddenly, Lu Ming let out a loud roar. The laws in his body surged and the sword of death in his hand trembled continuously. The sword's howl was shocking. Bus. Suddenly, the power of the sword of death increased dramatically, and a terrifying sword light slashed toward Dandan. Not only did this strike contain the power of death from the law of death, but it also contained the mountain-heavy power of the law of chaos. It was a success. Lu Ming was ecstatic. However, the next moment, his body trembled violently. He felt 2 ultimate maxims burst forth with a terrifying tearing force. His palm was about to be torn apart by this tearing force. Nest. On the other side, Dandan shouted loudly. With a shake of her palm, a turtle shell appeared like a shield and blocked in front of him. Boom. With a loud bang, the turtle shell shield condensed by Dandan exploded. Dandan quickly retreated and avoided the sharp edge of the death sword. Kid, you've successfully fused? Dandan looked at Lu Ming. The sword of death disappeared from Lu Ming's hand. His palm and even his arm were covered in cracks and blood was oozing out. He circulated his life law, quickly healing the wound on his arm. Unfortunately, the two nomological laws will still clash and explode with shocking power. I've even injured myself. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. This is normal. You've just started the fusion and are not familiar with it yet, but this proves that our direction is right. As long as we keep trying, the side effects will disappear. Aha, we've created history. If this gets out, it'll probably scare people to death. Dandan was extremely excited. Lu Ming also revealed a smile. He understood that after such a long period of hard work, he had finally succeeded. Although the fusion of the two ultimate maxims would cause him to be injured, it was only incomplete now. As he continued to perfect it in the future, these side effects would definitely disappear. Under the effects of the life law, the wound on Lu Ming's arm had completely healed. Dandan again? Lu Ming rushed towards Dandan. Where else could he find such a good sparring partner? Boom. The sword of death reappeared in Lu Ming's hand. Then the law of chaos burst out and fused with the sword of death. Buzz. This time he was about to succeed, but they still clashed. There was a terrifying explosion of power, causing Lu Ming's arm to be covered in wounds. However, the power of this sword had reached a shocking level. Dandan had to concentrate to block it. This could be said to be Lu Ming's strongest killing move. In the future, 111 merged the life laws into it, and its power will definitely be even stronger. Lu Ming thought to himself. Lu Ming was about to continue with Dandan when a figure flashed and a white-haired old man appeared. It was Gu Xinghui. This was the first time Gu Xinghui had appeared in the past 3 years. Brother Lu Ming, it seems that you have made great progress over the years. Gu Xinghui said with a smile. Many thanks to Senior for bringing this junior here to cultivate. Otherwise, this junior would have had to cultivate for several more years to reach my current achievements. Lu Ming said. You brat, how come you have time to come here today? Dandan walked over and said loudly. Of course it's something big. Gu Xinghui said. Something big? What's the big deal? Dandan asked curiously. Mount Eternal has appeared. It said that the indestructible ancient scroll is hidden in Mount Eternal. Gu Xinghui said. What? Dandan almost jumped up with her eyes shining. She stared at Gu Xinghui and said, Are you telling the truth? It's true. Mount Eternal has appeared from the void and is now hovering above Yaoguang Ancient City. Countless experts in the Taiqing Heaven region are heading there to get the indestructible ancient scroll. That's why I'm here to ask if you're going. Gu Xinghui said. Of course we're going. We can't miss the indestructible ancient scroll of the undying venerable emperor. Dandan's eyes lit up. On the other hand, Lu Ming and Mulan were a little dumbfounded. They had never heard of Mount Eternal or the indestructible ancient scroll. This indestructible ancient scroll is so magical? Lu Ming asked. Of course. It said that those who cultivate the indestructible ancient scroll cannot die. Their vitality is extremely strong. Even a drop of blood, a strand of hair, or a wisp of soul can be recovered. Although the life maxim has a tenacious life force, it's still far inferior to cultivating the indestructible ancient scroll. The indestructible ancient scroll is the special skill of the undying venerable sovereign. Do you know about it? He's in existence on par with the Chaos the Arch. He explained a lot. Lu Ming was shocked. He was shocked by the unbelievable power of the indestructible ancient scroll and also by the strength of the undying venerable emperor. According to Dandan, those who could be called venerable sovereigns were all invincible figures, respected among the emperors and invincible. For example, the Chaos Monarch and the Undying Monarch. Since the immortal venerable sovereign is so strong, then how can anyone else obtain the indestructible ancient scroll? If we go, wouldn't we just be courting death? Lu Ming asked curiously. The undying venerable sovereign is long dead, Dandan said. He's dead. How could such a person who cultivated the indestructible ancient scroll die? Lu Ming was shocked and puzzled. Sai, it's the evil god tribe. In ancient times, during the early stages of the Great War, the undying venerable emperor was besieged by several people of the same level from the evil god tribe. In the end, he was annihilated, leaving nothing behind. Even with the undying ancient scroll, he still died. Ever since the death of the undying emperor, Mount Eternal, where he lived, has escaped into the endless void, wandering in the eternal dark void. No one has been able to find it. One really didn't expect that Mount Eternal would suddenly appear in the world. Many people are guessing that the ancient indestructible scripture is about to be reborn. Gu Xinghui sighed. Lu Ming also looked tempted. All right, let's go and take a look. Lu Ming said. Chapter 2229. Chapter 2229, Celestial Emperor's Attack. Chapter 2229. Chapter 2229 Celestial Emperor's Attack. Before he became a Saint Emperor, he could go out for a walk and adjust his state of mind in preparation for becoming a Saint Emperor. At the same time, he could also try his luck. If he could really obtain the indestructible ancient scroll, then he would be extremely lucky. Immediately, Lu Ming, Mulan, and Dandan followed Gu Xinghui and left the place, arriving at the hall of the Gu family. This time the Gu family will also send people over to try their luck. Mount Eternal had wandered in the eternal space of darkness for so many years. It had suddenly appeared. It was very difficult to obtain it by relying on cultivation alone. One needed luck. Therefore the Gu family sent out some heaven's favorites. Gu Yingzhong, the number one heaven's favorite of the Gu family, was naturally among them. However, there were also quite a number of experts, including those of the True Emperor Realm and Great Emperor Realm. They were all led by the Gu family's master. The group soared into the sky and headed to the nearest teleportation zone. Yaoguang Ancient City was located in the western part of the Taiqing Heavenly region. After a few days, the Gu family arrived at the ancient city. Yaoguang Ancient City was one of the oldest ancient cities in the Heaven Realm. In the Heaven Realm, there weren't many that could be called ancient cities. Every one of them had been built over countless years and was full of the marks of time. During this period of time, this ancient city that had been around for countless years had become extremely lively. There was a sea of people, all of them experts. Experts from all over the Taiqing Heavenly region had arrived. Not only the human race but also the other divine beast races. For example, true dragons, heavenly tigers, phoenixes, and others could be seen from time to time. In the sky above the north gate of Yaoguang Ancient City, there was a huge divine mountain floating there. It was huge and majestic like the legendary ancient divine mountain. This was Mount Eternal. Lu Ming and the group did not enter Yaoguang Ancient City at first. Instead, they headed towards Mount Eternal. Boom, boom. Even from a distance, they could see the dazzling lights flashing non-stop and hear the shocking rumbles. Someone wanted to ascend Mount Eternal, and it was a very shocking expert. Lu Ming saw a figure shrouded in divine light charging towards Mount Eternal at an alarming speed. However, no matter how fast he charged towards Mount Eternal, it seemed that he could not cross the seemingly long distance and could not get close to it. On Mount Eternal there was a layer of light. It seemed to have stopped there, but it could not get close. Is that a heavenly emperor? Someone from the Gu family asked in a hoarse voice. That's right, he is indeed a heavenly emperor. The Gu family's master said. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Even a heavenly emperor couldn't climb Mount Eternal? Buzz. At this moment, a bird cry resounded through the sky. Everyone saw a phoenix spreading its wings and flying towards Mount Eternal. The aura that this phoenix exuded was heaven-shaking and earth-shattering. Its body was even larger, and its wings were wide open, covering the sky and covering the sun. This was definitely a terrifying phoenix. Its cultivation was no weaker than the human expert from before. Without a doubt, it was in existence in the Heavenly Emperor realm. With a flap of its wings, the void collapsed, forming a terrifying dark space. It flew toward Mount Eternal at a speed unimaginable to ordinary people. However, this terrifying phoenix still found it difficult to ascend Mount Eternal. Brr. A roar spread in all directions. A huge white tiger, filled with endless killing intent, rushed towards Mount Eternal. But just like the phoenix, it still found it difficult to climb the mountain. The white tiger roared in anger and extended a giant claw. It was incomparably terrifying and was even larger than a mountain. It grabbed towards Mount Eternal from the sky. Clearly, the white tiger couldn't climb the mountain and was extremely furious, wanting to blow up Mount Eternal. Its giant claw was even bigger than Mount Eternal. Unfortunately, when it grabbed down, Mount Eternal was like an illusion. It grabbed nothing and nothing. Following that, everyone saw a few more powerful existences trying to climb Mount Eternal, but to no avail. There were many people watching nearby. Lu Ming and the rest learned from the people who were watching that during this period of time, no less than 10 Heavenly Emperor stage existences had come here. They had used various methods to try to ascend Mount Eternal and obtain the indestructible ancient scroll, but all of them had failed. There were also people of the Heavenly Emperor realm, True Emperor realm, and Empty Emperor realm, but they all failed. Some people speculated that the indestructible ancient scroll hadn't appeared yet, and it was obviously impossible to obtain it by relying on strength. One must know that the undying venerable emperor was an invincible figure. Many people stayed in Yaoguang Ancient City and waited for the opportunity. Lu Ming and the group looked around Mount Eternal but found nothing. Even Dandan shook her head. They could only go to Yaoguang Ancient City and find a place to stay. Yaoguang Ancient City. One heard that it is one of the oldest cities in the Heaven Realm. Many experts have been born in history and many historical sites have been left behind. How about we go and take a look? The solitary shadow invited Lu Ming, Dandan, and Mulan again. The Gu family had been living in seclusion for generations and rarely came out. The chances of Gu Ying coming out were not many either. If it wasn't for the indestructible ancient scroll, the Gu family wouldn't have brought them out. It was rare for him to come out, so he was naturally very curious. All right. Lu Ming and the rest nodded. Together with Gu Yingchong, they left their residence and strolled around Yaoguang Ancient City. The Alcade Ancient City was not only ancient, but it also occupied a large area. There were countless streets and countless ancient ruins. For example, there were Dao Comprehension Stone Tablets. These Dao Comprehension Stone Tablets had the marks of the great Dao left by experts, which were of great help to those below the Martial Supreme Realm. Many people below the Martial Supreme Realm sat cross-legged under the Dao Comprehension Monument, quietly comprehending and cultivating. There was another place with many statues. They were all famous statues from past generations. Each of them exuded a domineering will that made people admire them. Many people, including Lu Ming and a few others, were watching. Guys, look. That's the statue of the top 10 battle beast, Gu Yingzhong said in a low voice. Lu Ming looked over and saw many statues of different species. It was a 9-dragon with a winding body and 9 dragon claws under its belly. The scales on its body were clearly visible and vivid, as if the 9 dragons had come back to life. One of them was a giant elephant the size of a small mountain. Its muscles were clearly defined and it seemed to possess explosive power. This was the Archean dragonesque elephant. Next he saw the Titan longhorn beetle, the undying celestial hoe, the 9 lives devilish silkworm. These were the statues of the top 10 beasts. He saw a total of 9, but he didn't see the statue of the world turtle. Dandan, one don't think you're in the list. It seems that your reputation is not good enough, or others think that you don't deserve to be on par with the other 9. Lu Ming looked at Dandan and teased her. Bullshit, the people who carved these statues must be ignorant or have a grudge against me. Damn it, they actually didn't put my statue in. Dandan was extremely unhappy and gritted her teeth. Finally, her eyes lit up and she said, I know, they must be unable to carve out my majestic spirit, so they don't have a statue of me. It must be like this, haha. Tiske. Lu Ming and the group looked at him with disdain. After a while they left the place. Lu Ming, is that you? How did you come to the Heaven Realm? Right at this moment a voice rang out. It seemed to be extremely surprised. Luo Tsangqiong? The Stellar River. Lu Ming turned his head and there was a cold glint in his eyes. Chapter 2230, Chapter 2231, Killed in One Move. Chapter 2230, Chapter 2231 Killed in one move. Not far away, a few young men walked over. 2 of them were Lu Ming's old acquaintances Luo Tsangqiong and the Eternal Star River from the Primordial Realm. There was a young man beside them who Lu Ming did not know. Luo Tsangqiong and Heng Xinghe seemed to be very surprised. Back then, Heavenly Emperor Kong Yin did not bring Lu Ming to the Heaven Realm. How did Lu Ming appear in the Heaven Realm now? After the shock there was a cold killing intent. Luo Tsangqiong and Heng Xinghe were the same. They did not hide their killing intent at all. Their figures flickered and they surrounded Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming, one didn't expect you to come to the Heaven Realm. Can't you just stay in the Primordial Realm and enjoy your old age? You just had to come to the Heaven Realm to die. That's good, it saves me the trouble of making a special trip. Luo Tsangqiong said coldly, and a powerful aura emanated from his body. A 2-star illusionary emperor seemed to have reached the peak of the 2-star illusionary emperor realm, and could become a 3-star illusionary emperor at any time. At the same time, 2 kinds of laws emanated from his body. They were both King Path laws and they were both at the completion of the 1st realm. Obviously, Luo Tsangqiong had made great progress after coming to the Heaven Realm. During the Battle of the 10 Lands, Luo Tsangqiong had just broken through to the 1-star Void Emperor realm. Now he had reached the peak of the 2-star Void Emperor realm, comprehended the 2nd kind of law, and reached the peak of the 1st realm. To be able to make such progress in 5 years was already considered very fast. He had definitely received a large amount of resources to cultivate. In the Martial Emperor realm, the distance between each step was extremely large and difficult to cross. If one did not have the resources and just cultivated diligently, it would take a long time. Lu Ming glanced at Luo Zhangqiong indifferently and said, I haven't seen you for 5 years. You've made some progress, but do you think you're my match? His voice was filled with disdain. Luo Kangqiang's face turned ugly. He did not have much confidence in going up against Lu Ming alone. During the Battle of the 10 Lands, Lu Ming could fight against the Heaven's Pride, who had mastered the strongest law and was much stronger than him now. To his knowledge, Lu Ming was an unparalleled cripple. If he could not become a martial emperor, his combat strength would not be any different from 5 years ago. There would not be any improvement. However, he was not Lu Ming's match now. However, he wasn't afraid because there were other people beside him. Humph, Lu Ming, this isn't the primordial realm, nor is it 5 years ago. Luo Zhangqiong said coldly. Oh, are you talking about the two of them? Lu Ming smiled indifferently, his gaze sweeping across the galaxy and the unfamiliar young man. I alone am enough. Xing Qin spoke, showing great confidence. The cultivation of the Eternal Star River had already reached the 3-star illusionary divine stage. His progress was amazing, having crossed 2 levels. At the same time, his nomological laws had also made amazing progress. His combat strength was much stronger than it had been 5 years ago in the Battle of 10 Lands. The Eternal Star River was no longer any weaker than the Heaven Realm's proud sons of heaven who had descended upon the primordial realm. His talent was very strong, no weaker than those Heaven Realm's geniuses. Now that he had received the Heaven Realm's resources, his progress was rapid. He had enough confidence that he could defeat Lu Ming alone. He's the peerless trash from the primordial realm? The unfamiliar young man said. This person's cultivation was not weak either. He was a 3-star void emperor and controlled 3 types of laws. Although he did not have an ultimate law, 2 of his king path laws had already reached the 2nd realm. His strength was also very shocking. That's right, it's him. Luo Zhangqiong said in a cold voice. Many people have bragged about him. One want to see how powerful he is today. The strange young man sneered. Those people who are boasting are just his friends. Lu Ming, you'll die today. Luo Zhangqiong sneered. Back then, in the world of the Lotus Flower, Luo Zhangqiong had been tortured by Lu Ming. Luo Pokong was killed by Lu Ming in public, and he was stepped on by Lu Ming in public. He was even treated as a human weapon and fought against the Eternal Star River. He had lost all face. He had always wanted to take revenge. However, at the Battle of the 10 Lands, Lu Ming's abilities had shocked him. What happened after that made him ecstatic. Lu Ming actually had a peerless crippled body and could not go to the Heaven Realm to cultivate. He was overjoyed and decided to return to the primordial realm to kill Lu Ming with his own hands after his cultivation in the Heaven Realm was successful. He did not expect to meet Lu Ming in the Heaven Realm. However, his desire to kill Lu Ming would not change. Lu Ming, give me the celestial thearch's corporeal body and he'll give you a quick death. Xing Qin said coldly. Of course, he was sending a voice transmission to Lu Ming. He did not wish for others to know about the celestial thearch's physical body. In his opinion, the celestial emperor's corporeal body should belong to him. Anyone who touched it would have to die. He had to kill Lu Ming too. The 3 people from the Star River had completely ignored Dandan, Gaingchong, and Mulan. How powerful could he be when he was with Lu Ming, who had a crippled body? They disdained it. Lu Ming, who are these 3 fools? You've been farting the moment you came. Dandan said unhappily. His words made the faces of Luo Zhangqiong and the other 2 people of Xinghe River darken. Originally, it was none of your business, but now, you have to die as well and be responsible for your own words. Luo Zhangqiong said coldly. Nest, this kid doesn't have any ability at all, but he's very arrogant. They'll kill him with one slap. Dandan was even more displeased and rolled up her sleeves, ready to make a move. Leave them to me, I'll deal with them. Lu Ming waved his hand and stopped Dandan. You'll settle it? Let's see how you're going to solve this. The unfamiliar young man said coldly. He took a step forward and charged toward Lu Ming. His palm was like a blade and he slashed down with all his might. It was like a heavenly blade. The power of his 3-star illusionary emperor world burst out completely. 3 kinds of king path laws also burst out at the same time. 2 of them had already reached the 2nd realm, and their power was extremely amazing. This attack shattered the void. The terrifying saber light slashed at Lu Ming, trying to cut him in half. Countless people in the surroundings were alarmed and looked over. Lu Ming's expression did not change at all in the face of this attack. He was very calm. Boom. Just as the saber beam was about to hit Lu Ming, he made his move and pointed his finger. A finger force hit the blade light, and the blade light shattered. The finger force didn't stop, and it pointed at the strange young man at an amazing speed. The strange young man's pupils contracted sharply, and his eyes revealed a look of fear as he retreated frantically. However, Lu Ming's finger force was even faster and caught up with the strange young man in an instant. No. No! The strange young man shouted in fear. At this moment, his heart was filled with fear and regret. He had never dreamed that Lu Ming, who was just a cripple, could be so powerful. He was even more powerful than the rumors said. His attack was actually useless. He could feel death approaching. He roared. He wanted to escape, but it was too late. The finger force pierced through his forehead and destroyed his soul. The unfamiliar young man's eyes were wide open and filled with unwillingness. Then his corpse fell heavily to the ground. The pupils of Luo Zhangqiong and Xing Xing he also contracted sharply. Chapter 2231. The Despair of the Galaxy? Chapter 2231. The Despair of the Galaxy. They were well aware of the strange young man's combat strength. He was a very good Heaven's Pride expert in the Heaven Realm. His combat strength was far above Luo Kangqiang's, and he was not much weaker than the Star River. But now he was killed by Lu Ming in one move. Wasn't Lu Ming's combat strength even stronger than the current galaxy? Didn't Lu Ming have a crippled body? If he could not become a martial emperor, how could his combat strength increase so quickly? They couldn't figure it out. All they could think of now was to run. The Star River and Luo Zhangqiong retreated at almost the same time. Seeing that you can't win, you want to run, have you asked me? Hehehe. Lu Ming sneered. He took a step forward and caught up with Luo Zhangqiong in an instant like a ray of light. Luo Kangqiang's eyes were filled with fear. The unfamiliar young man's combat strength was above his, but he was killed by Lu Ming in one move. If Lu Ming wanted to kill him, he would not need a second move. Lu Ming, you can't kill me. If you kill me, my grandfather will never let you off. Luo Zhangqiong roared. Your grandfather? He already attacked me in the primordial realm. Unfortunately, he's seriously injured now and one don't know where he's gone to recuperate. He'll personally take his head one day. Lu Ming sneered. He had to kill Luo Zhangqiong. Back then, it was because of Luo Zhangqiong that Qiu Yu had fallen into a desperate situation and almost couldn't wake up. Later on, Luo Kangqiang's grandfather, Emperor Tian Luo, met up with the emperor of the Mu family and went to the ancient moon sanctuary to kill him. It could be said that he, the Daluo Heaven sect, and the Luo family had long been mortal enemies. Even if Luo Zhangqiong didn't come to him, he would go to him. Since he had met him today, he would not let him go. Impossible. Upon hearing Lu Ming's words, Luo Zhangqiong roared in disbelief. Have a safe trip. Lu Ming spoke indifferently and pointed his finger. Without any suspense, Luo Kangqiang's glabella was pierced through by the finger force. His soul was destroyed and he died on the spot. At this point, the two king physiques of the Daluo Heaven sect had been killed by Lu Ming. After killing Luo Zhangqiong, Lu Ming chased after him in the Star River. At this moment, the galaxy used all its strength and flew at high speed. He had a feeling that if he did not leave today, he would not be able to leave. Lu Ming's combat strength had exceeded his imagination. However, he still had hope. Lu Ming had a crippled body and could never become a martial emperor. Even if he could improve his combat strength, there was a limit. He, on the other hand, could continue to improve. He did not believe that he would not be able to kill Lu Ming after he broke through to the true emperor realm. As long as he was alive, he would be able to kill Lu Ming. So he used all his strength to run for his life, but when he looked back, he was scared out of his wits. It was because Lu Ming was not far away from him. Heng Xing River, go down and accompany Luo Zhangqiong so that he won't be lonely, Lu Ming said coldly. He displayed his six-feathered divine wings, and his speed was extremely shocking. With a flap of his transparent wings, he approached the eternal Star River. Kill? The galaxy stopped and shouted. An eternal god clock appeared and vibrated. Now, the cultivation base of the galaxy was much stronger than before. It had reached the three-star Void Emperor realm, the second realm of the eternal law, and it had also mastered a king path law. Hence, the power of the eternal god bell was many times stronger than it had been in the past. Layers of sound waves rushed out and turned into sharp swords, slashing at Lu Ming. It was extremely terrifying. This move again. Star River, this move is useless against me. Lu Ming spoke indifferently and struck out with his palm. Boom. The void exploded, and the terrifying palm force rushed toward the Star River like a mountain. The sharp swords formed by the sound waves of the eternal god bell exploded and collapsed one after another. The power of the palm did not stop. It surged towards the stellar river and bombarded the eternal god bell. Thump. The eternal god bell trembled violently and cracks appeared on it. Xing's body was sent flying like a cannonball and he coughed up blood in the air. How is that possible? The galaxy roared in disbelief. How could Lu Ming's combat strength be so strong? In the 5 years he had been in the Heaven Realm, the Eternal Star River had obtained a large amount of resources. There were even some great figures who valued him and took him in as a disciple. He was a heavenly emperor. After being a disciple of the heavenly emperor and being nurtured by the heavenly emperor, he had made great progress in all aspects. His combat strength had also soared. But even so, after 5 years he was even more vulnerable when he met Lu Ming again. He found it hard to accept. These people are so weak. They came to kill Lu Ming? Dandan pursed her lips, feeling speechless. He's completely courting death. Guingzhong was also speechless. Meanwhile, the surrounding onlookers were also in a heated discussion. Who is that person? What powerful combat strength? I heard them talking about a peerless cripple. What's that about? I don't know, one no. I heard that the primordial realm produced a peerless cripple who has yet to become a sovereign, but he has already mastered many nomological laws, even 2 of the strongest nomological laws. What? He can control 2 types of ultimate laws? The scene was in an uproar. Many people exclaimed, but even more people didn't believe it. They didn't believe that anyone could master 2 ultimate maxims. It was impossible. No one had ever done it in history. In the sky, Lu Ming did not stop and continued to charge toward the galaxy. Casting the 6-feathered divine wings, Lu Ming's speed was extremely fast. With a flash of his wings, he crossed the void and caught up with the Eternal Star River in an instant. Thump. Lu Ming struck out with his palm again and it hit the Eternal God Bell in the galaxy. This time the Eternal God Clock that covered Xing's body exploded. Xing's body emitted the sound of bones breaking. His body was sent flying and he spat out a large mouthful of blood. Lu Ming had not used his full strength. His palm only contained 4 types of laws: Chaos Law, Devour Law, Penetration Law, and Extreme Law. In the past few years Lu Ming had improved too much. After refining a trace of energy from the ancestral dragon blood, his physical strength had increased greatly. At the same time, the law of alchemy, the law of craftsmanship, and the law of penetration were perfected one after another. Lu Ming's body and saint energy had improved a lot after tempering his body in saint energy. The strength of the galaxy was not weaker than Lan Yun and Yan Shi, whom Lu Ming had encountered 3 years ago. At that time, Lu Ming would need to use all his strength to fight against experts like Lan Yun or Yan Shi. But now Lu Ming had also used 4 types of laws. He had not even used his ultimate move and he could already achieve a crushing defeat. He could completely crush them. Let's go. Lu Ming chased after the galaxy. The stellar river erupted in a frenzy as it tried its best to escape. Lu Ming, you can't kill me. My master is the celestial the Arch. At the same time Xing Qin roared and brought up his master, hoping that Lu Ming would have some reservations. However, he knew very well that Lu Ming was a lawless person. He could not be intimidated. As expected, Lu Ming was unmoved and continued to chase after him. The Eternal Star River revealed a look of despair. Lu Ming, stop. At this moment, a furious roar was heard. Then a terrifying fist force blasted toward Lu Ming from the sky. Chapter 2232, Chapter 2231, Endless Enemies? Chapter 2232, Chapter 2231 Endless Enemies. Initially, Lu Ming had wanted to completely kill the Hengxing River and get rid of this trouble. However, at this moment, a fist force crossed the void and headed towards Lu Ming. Its power was extremely shocking. The laws of chaos. Lu Ming could sense the fluctuation of the chaos laws in the fist force. Without thinking, Lu Ming struck out with his palm. Boom. Lu Ming's palm and the fist force collided heavily. The void exploded and trembled continuously. A strong wind swept in all directions. Xingxing River's body trembled and was swept away by the aftershock. He spat out a few more mouthfuls of blood. Lu Ming's gaze was fixed on the sky. A burly figure stepped through the air and looked down at Lu Ming. Yuan Xan. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled up slightly. It was a coincidence that he met old acquaintances from the primordial realm today. The laws of chaos. That's Yuan Xan, the son of chaos from the primordial realm. I've heard of him before. He's very talented. After coming to the heaven realm, he was immediately accepted as a disciple by a top master. He received a lot of resources and made rapid progress. Some time ago he defeated several famous Heaven's Pride experts in the heaven realm. I've also heard of him. This person's talent is indeed amazing. He has the potential to compete with the Ninju in the future. This time, the primordial realm has indeed produced many people with shocking talent. Besides Yuan Xian, there's one more person who's even more terrifying. He was born to be the son of fate and can control the nomological laws of fate. There are also a few paragons from the archaic system who are also extremely terrifying. Clearly, 5 years had passed, and the prodigies who had come to the primordial realm were all rising rapidly. They had made a name for themselves in the heaven realm and were known by many experts in the heaven realm. Yuan Xin's eyes glowed as he looked down at Lu Ming. A strong fighting spirit emanated from his body. Lu Ming, I didn't expect you to come to the heaven realm. Although you can't become a divine emperor, your combat strength has reached this level. It's really shocking. But this is good. You'll feel more when I kill you. As she spoke, Yuan Xin's eyes revealed a hint of ferocity. Do you remember what one said to you in the Ten Lands battle? If you are defeated by me once, you will never be my opponent. Lu Ming spoke indifferently, his voice filled with disdain. You're talking big. A cripple can never become a saint emperor. Where did you get your confidence from? Die. Yuan Xen shouted coldly as a shocking aura erupted from his body. A 4-star illusionary emperor. This was Yuan Xin's current cultivation. A 4-star void emperor was already a high-level void emperor, which was much stronger than a 3-star void emperor. The powerful power of the world was surging, and the power of nomological laws surrounded Yuan Xen, making her look like a god of war. 3 types of laws: the laws of chaos. He's already at the 2nd realm. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He had a rough estimate of Yuan Xin's combat strength. Do you still have confidence now? Yuan Xian said, full of confidence. To him, meeting Lu Ming today was great news. During the Battle of the 10 Lands, he had been defeated by Tianming and Lu Ming one after another. He was still brooding over it. Today he could defeat Lu Ming. Another day he would defeat Tianming. He wanted to prove to everyone that he was the #1 heaven's favorite in Yuan continent. In the future he would defeat the strongest heaven's favorite in the heaven realm and stand at the peak. This was his ambition. Lu Ming, he's ours. At this moment a cold voice sounded. In the distance, a few rainbow lights flew over at high speed. The next moment, a few figures appeared in the sky. The powerful aura and cold killing intent were not concealed at all as they pressed toward Lu Ming. Lan Yun Yen Shi. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. It seemed that he had met a few old acquaintances. They were Lan Yun and Yen Shi. When the two of them looked at Lu Ming, their gazes were particularly cold. Lu Ming, I'll kill you today. Lan Yun coldly spoke. Back then he was so badly abused by Dandan because of Lu Ming. Later on he did not get the treasure because Lu Ming stopped him. Then the two of them glanced at Dandan and Mulan. Their eyes were filled with cold killing intent and of course greed. They recognized Mulan. Back then there was a small pagoda above Mulan's head. It was definitely a supreme treasure. Today, since he had met her, he would take her together. They were overjoyed. This wasn't a battlefield, so there weren't many rules. It was normal to kill each other. You guys, surround those people. Lan Yun shouted and waved his hand. Following behind Lan Yun and Yen Shi were a few middle-aged men. At this moment, their figures flashed and they surrounded Dandan, Mulan and Guingzhong. These middle-aged men were all at the true emperor realm. Their terrifying aura made Mulan and Gu Yingzhong's expression turn serious. However, their faces darkened and their eyes flickered with an ominous light. Lu Ming, I'll see who can save you today. Lan Yun and Yen Zai's figures flashed and they surrounded Lu Ming. Ha, Lu Ming, it seems that you have offended many people. Yuan Xian sneered. A bunch of clowns? Lu Ming said indifferently. What did you just say? You're looking for death. Lan Yun shouted, his aura even colder. After a few years, Lan Yun and Yen Shi had undoubtedly become stronger. Their cultivations had both reached the level of 4-star Void Emperor, and their nomological laws had also improved. On the surface they did not seem to be weaker than Yuan Xian. The 3 young experts had Lu Ming surrounded. This trash from the primordial realm has actually offended so many people? He's too overconfident. He's just a cripple who can never become a saint emperor. How dare he be so arrogant? Isn't he courting death? I heard that he's very famous in the Yuan continent. He was the first among the younger generation in the Yuan continent. That's normal. He's not a saint emperor yet, but he's already mastered so many laws. His combat power must be very strong. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the potential to become a saint emperor. I think he's used to being arrogant, so he doesn't recognize his own situation. The others can keep improving, but he's still so arrogant. He doesn't have much time left. He's probably going to die today. Some people discussed and felt that Lu Ming would definitely die today. Lan Yun, Yan Shi, and Yuan Xian were all much stronger than Xing Qin. Now that the three of them were clearly going against Lu Ming, did he still have a chance? Brother Lu Ming. At this moment, a joyful voice was heard. The voice was crisp and pleasant to the ears. Then there was a flash in the void and a figure suddenly appeared on Lu Ming's shoulder. Lu Ming did not avoid it because he knew who it was the moment he heard the voice. Bubbles? Bubble? Lu Ming called out, a smile on his face. It seemed that Bubbles had arrived as well. It had been 5 years since they last met, but Bubbles was still the same as before. She did not grow much older and still looked like she was 2 or 3 years old. Brother Lu Ming. The bubble hung on Lu Ming's neck and its small head rubbed against Lu Ming's body. It was reluctant to let go. Yuan Xin's eyes turned grim when she saw Bubbles approaching. Bubbles was a spacetime spirit mouse. Ever since she came to the heaven realm, she had been placed in an important position and was greatly nurtured. Her cultivation base had improved even more rapidly, and her current strength was no weaker than his. Chapter 2233. All of you can come together? Chapter 2233. All of you can come together. After a long while, Bubbles raised her head and looked at Yuan Xian, Lan Yun, and Yan Shi. What are these guys trying to do? You're asking for a beating. Pow Pow pouted as she looked at Lan Yun, Yan Shi, and the rest unkindly. Sir. That spacetime spirit mouse. Lan Yun and Yan Shi had also recognized Bubbles. A young top 10 war beast was too rare, and its talent was astonishing. Bubbles' arrival had caused a stir back then. Many people knew that a spacetime spirit mouse had come from the primordial realm. Furthermore, the moment he arrived, he was taken in as a disciple by a terrifying god beast and was taught with great care. He improved at an amazing speed and his battle strength was even stronger. During this period of time, many heaven's favorites have lost to her. Lan Yun and Yan Shi naturally knew about it as well. At the same time, they were also rather afraid of the existence behind Bubbles. They did not expect Lu Ming to know Bubbles and that they seemed to be on good terms. Hey, tell me. Are you the ones who want to go against Brother Lu Ming? If you want to make a move, you'll have to get past me first. Bubbles waved her little fists and glanced at Lan Yun and Yan Shi. This is none of your business. Lan Yun coldly spoke. Who says it's not related? Pow Pow glared at Lan Yun. You'd better stay out of this. The Lan family might not be afraid of the person behind you. Lan Yun spoke again. Nonsense. If you want to fight, then fight, chirp chirp. Paoba was enraged and was about to attack. Bubble, I can handle these people myself. Lu Ming smiled and stopped Bubbles. Oh, okay. Brother Lu Ming, beat them up for me, chirpy. Bubbles shouted. Then she turned her gaze and saw Dandan. Her big eyes immediately lit up, and with a move she immediately appeared on Dandan's shoulder. Little turtle, long time no see, chirpy. Pow Pow blinked her large eyes as she sized up Dandan. Although Dandan had transformed into a human and had even used a mysterious technique to conceal her aura, Bubbles and Dandan were both top 10 war beasts and had extremely sharp senses. Bubbles recognized Dandan with a single glance. Dandan's face turned even darker. You're the little turtle. Your entire family are little turtles. Dandan said unhappily. You're clearly the little turtle, aren't you? Chirp chirp. Pow Pow pouted and said. Don't compare me to an ordinary little turtle, Dandan said angrily as she and Bubbles stared at each other and bickered. Lu Ming smiled and glanced at Lan Yun, Yan Shi, and Yuan Xian. He said indifferently, since you all want to kill me, then come at me together. Don't waste time. His words shocked everyone present. What? This cripple actually asked Lan Yun and the others to attack him together. Is he crazy? Although his combat strength is not bad, he's simply courting death by being so arrogant. The others were shocked, and the faces of Lan Yun and the others became even gloomier. Lu Ming wanted to fight the three of them alone. He was simply courting death. This was an insult to them. I alone am enough to deal with you. Lan Yun made the first move. He shot out a punch and a lion's roar reverberated through the firmament. On his fist there was a lion jumping and roaring, its power shocking. This was a mystical ability passed down in Lan Yun's family, and it came from an ancient scripture. Compared to 3 years ago, Lan Yun was undoubtedly more powerful. Not only did he have a breakthrough in cultivation, but his nomological laws were also more profound. He had already comprehended a third type of nomological law and had reached the stage of the first realm perfection. With a punch, the lion's roar shook the sky and the wind howled, crushing toward Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's expression was calm. He simply struck out with his palm. Lu Ming still only used the chaos law, the extremity law, the engulfing law, and the penetration law in this palm. However, Lu Ming's physical body trembled and an even stronger force erupted. Boom! Lu Ming's palm collided with Lan Yun's fist, and a shocking tremor erupted. Then Lan Yun retreated rapidly. The lion on his fist let out a wail and exploded. Bang! 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 Lan Yun retreated a few dozen steps, his eyes revealing shock and disbelief. Lu Ming had actually forced him back with one palm. How was this possible? 3 years ago, Lu Ming's abilities were only slightly stronger than his. After 3 years, his combat strength had increased tremendously. Why was he forced to retreat by Lu Ming's palm? Didn't Lu Ming have a crippled body? He could not become an emperor. Why did his strength progress so shockingly? He really could not figure it out. The others couldn't figure it out either, and they all opened their mouths wide. Yuan Xin's pupils also constricted, and her heart trembled. I've said it before. The three of you should come at me together. Don't waste my time. Lu Ming said, his voice spreading far and wide. Lan Yun, Yan Shi, and Yuan Xin's faces turned ugly. At this moment he didn't know whether to retreat or fight. If you guys aren't going to do it, I'll do it. Lu Ming was extremely powerful. He stepped into the air and attacked. Boom, boom, boom. He struck out 3 palm strikes in a row. 3 powerful palm prints whizzed out and headed toward Yuan Xan, Lan Yun, and Yan Shi respectively. Since you're looking for death, I'll fulfill your wish. Let's attack together. Yan Shi shouted. He made his move. A saber appeared in his hand and he slashed at Lu Ming. Lan Yun attacked as well. His fists were constantly blasting out, and there was a lion jumping on both fists, constantly roaring. The power was extremely shocking. At the same time, Yuan Xian made his move as well. He used all his strength and waved his fists. He condensed a mountain with all his strength and charged at Lu Ming. Yuan Xian had undoubtedly become stronger. During the Battle of the 10 Lands, he had only mastered a single law superpower technique. Now he had mastered a higher level superpower technique. Every attack had the explosion of several laws with chaos laws as the core, and its power was shocking. The three of them joined forces and the void was boiling. They were completely destroyed. Boom, boom, boom. Their attacks collided with Lu Ming's palm print. The void rumbled continuously and the force swept in all directions. Some of the weaker cultivators were forced to retreat. However, what was shocking was that after the collision, Lu Ming's body did not move at all. He stood in the void and his expression was very calm. He was fighting 1 against 3 and he didn't feel like he was at a disadvantage at all. Impossible. Yuan Xian bellowed in her heart. The power of the world erupted in full force, and mountains crushed toward Lu Ming, trying to crush him into pieces. At the same time, Lan Yun and Yan Shi roared as they charged toward Lu Ming. It's nothing more than this, Lu Ming said. This time he pointed 3 fingers in a row. This was the Chaos Finger Tribulation, but its power had far exceeded that of the Chaos Ring. Because of this finger, Lu Ming had fused 5 types of laws. Chaos laws, devour laws, extremity laws, penetration laws, and array Dao laws. In the Gu family, Lu Ming often sparred with dandan. Dandan's understanding and application of the law had reached an unimaginable level. Lu Ming had also benefited a lot. His application of the law was far superior to Yuan Xian and the others. The power of the convergence of 5 laws was astonishing. 5 huge fingers surrounded by 5 colors shot toward Yuan Xian and the other 2. Chapter 2234. Crushing? Chapter 2234. Crushing. The 3 huge fingers glowed with 5 different colors and filled the sky. It was as if a god had extended 3 fingers. This time Lu Ming used 5 types of laws. There was one more than the previous one and it was more powerful. Boom, boom, boom. The 3 fingers collided with the attacks of Yuan Xian, Lan Yun, and Yan Shi. The mountain formed by Yuan Xian shook violently and then exploded. Lan Yun had used his divine power to form a giant lion. It wailed and exploded. Yan Zai's blade light shattered. The terrifying power surged towards the 3 of them and they retreated. Their bodies trembled as if they had been electrocuted, and blood spurted out of their mouths. With the addition of a law, Lu Ming's attack power was greatly increased. He injured Yuan Xian, Lan Yun, and Yan Shi in one move. The surrounding spectators were dumbfounded. He could not believe what he was seeing. Yuan Xian, Lan Yun, and Yan Shi had all become 4-star Void Emperors. They were all high-level Void Emperors. Furthermore, they were all top talents and their combat strength could not be measured by their cultivation. However, the three of them had surrounded Lu Ming and were injured by him in one move. How was this possible? Lu Ming had not become an emperor yet. He was not an emperor to be yet, but he could cross so many levels of cultivation and suppress the three top heavens favorites. Everyone felt like they were going crazy because this had broken common sense and had never happened before. Even geniuses like Yuan Xian, Lan Yun, and Yan Shi were suppressed by Lu Ming. If an ordinary void emperor went up, he would be killed by Lu Ming in seconds. Wouldn't Lu Ming be able to suppress ordinary 5-star or even 6-star illusionary emperors? This was simply too crazy. However, this was still far from Lu Ming's strongest combat power. If they knew that Lu Ming had still kept a large amount of combat power, they would definitely be shocked. Lu Ming could not be bothered with what the others thought. At this moment he continued to attack Yuan Xian and the other two. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Lu Ming continued to point his fingers at the three of them. The three of them bellowed in anger and unleashed all their strength to attack Lu Ming. It could be seen that Yuan Xian was indeed stronger, and her combat strength was above Lan Yun and Yan Shi. Her injuries were also lighter. However, it was not much stronger and was still crushed by Lu Ming. With three loud bangs, the three of them were forced back and spat out blood. Kill? Lu Ming shouted and activated his 6-feathered divine wings. In a flash he appeared before Lan Yun. Lan Yun was greatly alarmed. His entire body emitted light, and an enormous lion pounced out. However, Lu Ming's palm was covered with 5 different radiances as it clashed with the giant lion's palm. The giant lion's palm was shattered immediately and the palm continued to hit the giant lion's head. The giant lion's huge body exploded inch by inch and finally exploded with a loud bang. Lu Ming's palm did not stop and continued to slap Lan Yun's body. Lan Yun let out a blood-curdling screech as his body was pierced through. He spat out a large mouthful of blood, and his body flew out like a broken sandbag. Young master. Damn it. The true emperors who had surrounded Dandan and Mulan immediately roared in anger and wanted to save Lan Yun. You can come and go as you please, have you asked this lord? Dandan said coldly. Then he moved like a bolt of lightning and charged at the true emperors. With a wave of Dandan's hand, 9 colors emanated from her body. That was the eruption of 9 types of nomological laws at the same time. Furthermore, all 9 types of nomological laws were at the 2nd level. Some had even reached the 3rd level. The true emperors were shocked. Dandan's combat power made their hearts tremble. There were a total of 5 true emperors, and the highest one had even reached the level of a 5-star true emperor. The true emperors attacked at the same time and charged toward Dandan. There were a few true emperors who had extremely shocking battle power and profound mastery of their laws. However, they were still lacking compared to Dandan. Dandan was fighting 1 against 5, but she was not at a disadvantage at all. She even had the upper hand. This shocked the others. They had never expected that this ordinary-looking young Taoist would be so strong. Not only had his cultivation reached the true emperor level, but his combat strength was also ridiculously strong. It was obvious that the cultivation base that Dandan revealed was only that of a 1-star true emperor. However, his battle prowess was shockingly high. Even a 5-star true emperor wasn't his match and was suppressed by him. His nomological laws are too terrifying. A 1-star true emperor has already cultivated 9 types of nomological laws to such a realm. It's incredible. Some of the older generation sighed. For a void emperor or a true emperor, the deciding factor of one's combat power was the laws. Although cultivation could also affect one's combat power, it was not as significant as nomological laws. This was especially true for those at the true emperor realm. The number of nomological laws they controlled and the strength of their mastery would greatly affect their combat power. Many people might not be able to cultivate nomological laws to such a level even after cultivating for hundreds of thousands or even millions of years. This was talent. The true emperors of the Lan family and Yen family were being held back by Dandan and couldn't be rescued. Lu Ming's figure flashed and he appeared beside Yan Shi again. He struck a palm and Yan Shi followed in Lan Yun's footsteps, spitting out a large mouthful of blood. You want to kill me? Today I'll kill you all. Lu Ming said coldly, his voice icy. He knew that the Lan family and the Yen family were both powerful families in the heaven realm. They had deep foundations and definitely had a celestial emperor. If he killed Lan Yun and Yan Shi, he would be in big trouble. However, the other party had tried to kill him time and time again, which made Lu Ming want to kill them. If worst came to worst, he would just kill them and find a place to hide or go to the Gu family to cultivate in seclusion. Although Lan Yun and Yan Shi were seriously injured, they were not dead yet. At this moment they were so frightened that they were trembling all over. They used all the strength in their bodies and retreated frantically. At the same time he shouted, "Come and save me. Junior, you dare." With a loud roar, a burly old man rushed out of the crowd, picked up a giant hammer and smashed it toward Lu Ming. True Emperor. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He did not dare to take it head-on. His six-feathered divine wings flashed and he dodged the hammer's attack. Kill him. Kill him. Lan Yun recognized that it was an expert from the Yen family and immediately shouted, "Kill?" The burly old man held a giant hammer and charged at Lu Ming, wanting to kill him. "You're a true emperor, yet you're attacking a quasi-emperor. You're so fucking shameless. I'll be your opponent." Dandan roared and struck out a few times in succession. His attack method was very special. All the laws were transformed into runes, which could then condense into all kinds of terrifying attacks with shocking power. Bang! Bang! The two true emperors in front of Dandan immediately spat out mouthfuls of blood and retreated rapidly. Dandan, on the other hand, charged towards the burly old man. "So what if you have a giant hammer? Look at my hammer, smash." Dandan shouted, raised her fist and smashed it towards the other party. As his fist smashed down, cymbals filled the air, and a huge hammer even larger than his opponent's took shape. It smashed down with a loud bang. Thump. The two big hammers collided and the void trembled. The burly old man's body shook violently and his arm exploded. He spat out blood and retreated. Save the young master. The true emperors who had besieged Dandan previously finally broke free and rushed towards Lan Yun and Yan Shi. Chapter 2235. Chapter 2234, Intervention of Experts. Chapter 2235. Chapter 2234 Intervention of Experts. The true emperors of the Lan family and Yen family who had besieged Dandan finally seized the opportunity. Their figures flickered and appeared beside Lan Yun and Yan Shi. Their world energy rolled up and swept the two of them away. They didn't dare to stop. Many people were dumbfounded. Lan Yun and Yan Shi had come in a strong manner and even brought true Emperor Realm experts to kill Lu Ming. In the end they had to flee in a sorry state. The true Emperor Realm experts were too fast. They were far away in an instant and Lu Ming could not catch up. Lu Ming's gaze was cast in another direction. There, Yuan Xian was also running at full speed with the Star River, not daring to stop at all. Umph. Lu Ming snorted coldly and spread his six-feathered divine wings. With a flap, he chased after Yuan Xian at an extreme speed. How could Yuan Xin's speed be compared to Lu Ming's? Lu Ming caught up with him very quickly. Damn it! Yuan Xian roared angrily, and the galaxy revealed a look of fear. Lu Ming was determined to kill them. Kill? Lu Ming said coldly and pointed his finger. A huge finger shot towards Yuan Xian. Primal Chaos Body, Chaotic Divine Body. Yuan Xian roared and used his Chaotic Divine Body. His current Chaotic Divine Body was very different from before. It had been improved and could fuse with many nomological laws, making it shockingly powerful. Boom. He swung his fists continuously, trying to block Lu Ming's attacks. However, the three of them were not Lu Ming's match previously. He was far behind by himself. The huge finger pressed down, crushing Yuan Xin's fist force as easily as breaking dry weeds. Yuan Xin's body trembled violently, and she retreated frantically, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. The Star River was also swept away by the aftershock and was sent flying, causing his injuries to worsen. Lu Ming, my master is the Celestial the Arch, Xing Qin roared. He was really afraid that he would be killed by Lu Ming here. Is there any point in revealing the person behind this? Lu Ming sneered and strode forward, wanting to be the first to kill Heng Xinghe. Xing Qin endured his injuries, unwilling to be killed just like that, and retreated. Boom. However, Lu Ming did not give him the chance. He pointed his finger and a sharp finger force pierced through the void and shot toward Xing Qin's glabella. No, Xing Qin roared because he couldn't block it at all. He was going to be killed by this move. At this moment, a beam of light suddenly appeared in front of him. This ray of light was like a shield. Lu Ming's finger force bombarded it, but it had no effect at all. Boom. Then, from a distance, a large hand reached out. The hand was huge and fast. The aura it gave off was terrifying. Heavenly Emperor. Lu Ming was shocked. This huge hand exuded the pressure of the heavenly Tao. It was unbelievably powerful. Master. Xing Qin shouted in excitement. His master had also come to Yaoguang Ancient City, and he knew that he would be fine. However, the huge hand did not attack Lu Ming and the rest. It grabbed the Hengxing River and Yuan Xian, then retreated rapidly and disappeared. The surrounding people all let out a long breath. The Celestial Emperor's pressure was too strong. Even from a distance, a large hand could make people feel like a mountain was pressing down on them. On the other side of Yaoguang Ancient City, in a luxurious and huge courtyard, the figures of Heng Xinghe and Yuan Xian appeared. In front of them was a gray-robed old man who stood with his hands behind his back. "Thank you for saving me, master." Xinghe quickly expressed his thanks. "Many thanks, senior." Yuan Xian also bowed. "And?" The gray-robed elder nodded. "Master, you should have killed Lu Ming. He's so arrogant that he doesn't even care about you." The Eternal Star River Channel wanted to persuade the old man to kill Lu Ming. "Shut up." The old man shouted coldly, his eyes emitting a shocking light. The cold aura caused Hengxing's heart to tremble, and he broke out in a cold sweat. "I'm a martial sovereign, but am no match for an emperor-to-be and was seriously injured. I'm already thick-skinned enough to save him. You want me, a heavenly sovereign, to kill a junior just because my disciple is no match for him? What would others think of me?" The gray-robed elder said, his eyes growing colder and colder. Xing's face turned pale and cold sweat broke out on his face. Yuan Xian, on the other hand, lowered her head and did not dare to speak. Although they were all top-tier heaven's favorites, they were nothing in front of the heavenly emperor. They might not even be able to step into the heavenly emperor realm in the future. Any heavenly emperor was an outstanding talent. When they were young they were no worse than them. Therefore they didn't have any pride in front of the heavenly emperor. Also, do you think that the other celestial thearchs won't care if I kill Lu Ming? The heavenly realm is currently facing a great enemy, so there are some rules. Do you understand? The gray-robed elder continued. This disciple is wrong. Xinghe nodded repeatedly. The grudges between the two of you will have to be settled by yourselves. After this matter at Mount Eternal is over, go back and cultivate in seclusion. Don't come out until you break through the true emperor realm. The gray-robed elder instructed. Yes. Xinghe nodded, and at the same time, his eyes flashed with a cold light. Lu Ming, I'll definitely kill you with my own hands in the future. One don't believe that your combat strength will keep increasing even if you can't become a martial emperor. The galaxy roared in its heart. A cold light flashed in Yuan Xin's eyes. She had the same thought as the Hengxing River. In the future he would personally cut off Lu Ming's head and take the Chaos Scripture. The Chaos Scripture is mine. Yuan Xian roared in her heart. Celestial Emperor's corporeal body is mine. The galaxy gritted its teeth. On the other side Lu Ming also sighed. This time he could have killed Yuan Xian in Hengxing River, but it was a pity that Hengxing River's master was in Yaoguang Ancient City, and all his efforts had failed. Lu Ming could also guess that the heavenly emperor would not be so shameless as to deal with him, a quasi-emperor. It's okay. As long as you become an emperor, dealing with these small fries will be a piece of cake. Dandan walked over and said with a smile. He knew very well that Lu Ming could comprehend many types of laws and even many types of ultimate laws before he became a great emperor. Once he became a great emperor there would be shocking changes. Good fight, chirping. The bubble jumped from Dandan's shoulder to Lu Ming's. It hung on Lu Ming's body and rubbed against him. Let's continue shopping. Lu Ming smiled. The group started to stroll around the Yaoguang Ancient City again. At the same time, Lu Ming learned from Bubbles that Long Qin, Ouyang Wushuang, and the rest were still in closed-door cultivation and had not come. After this battle, Lu Ming's name had spread far and wide. Before becoming a sovereign, he had already mastered many laws. It was said that he had mastered different ultimate laws and defeated Yuan Xian, Lan Yun, and Yan Shi. Such combat strength was shocking. In the past, Lu Ming's name had only spread among a small group of paragons. Now many people knew about him. However, there were also many people who did not believe it. With a skeptical attitude, they thought that it was too fake to control different ultimate maxims. They did not believe it. Since ancient times, no one had been able to control two different ultimate maxims. This had been regarded as the truth. How could they believe that a person who had not become a great emperor could control different ultimate maxims? Even those who had seen Lu Ming's moves were skeptical. This was because when Lu Ming was fighting with Lan Yun, Yuan Xian, and the rest, he had only used chaos laws and not any other ultimate laws. Chapter 2236. Chapter 2236, Harsh Conditions? Chapter 2236. Chapter 2236 Harsh Conditions. Lu Ming's name became a topic of conversation for many people who were waiting for Mount Eternal to have free time. The following days were rather peaceful. Lu Ming and the rest stayed at their residence and cultivated in seclusion. As time passed, the number of people in Yaoguang ancient city increased. Almost every day there were people trying to climb Mount Eternal. There were martial artists of all levels, from martial saints to celestial emperors, but no one was able to climb Mount Eternal. Everyone could only wait patiently. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. On this day, Mount Eternal suddenly gave off multicolored light. At the same time, a bell rang throughout Yaoguang ancient city. Everyone was alarmed and flew out of their residences. There's movement in Mount Eternal. Don't tell me we can enter. Let's go and take a look. Countless people flew into the sky and headed for Mount Eternal. Lu Ming and the rest also woke up from their cultivation. They followed the Gu family master and the rest and flew towards Mount Eternal. For a moment, Mount Eternal was surrounded by a sea of people. No one knew how many people there were. The temptation of the indestructible ancient scroll was too strong. With the indestructible ancient scroll, it was almost equivalent to being undying. As long as he didn't turn into ashes, he could recover from any serious injuries. This was equivalent to having many more lives. With the indestructible ancient scroll, one could venture into many dangerous forbidden lands, obtain treasures and quickly improve their cultivation. Who wouldn't be tempted by such an ancient scroll? Didn't he see that many heavenly emperors had rushed over? Even the heavenly emperors couldn't remain calm. Countless people gathered around Mount Eternal, waiting nervously. At this moment, a figure appeared in Mount Eternal. A burly figure slowly walked out from the depths of Mount Eternal. Many people couldn't help but widen their eyes. There's someone in Mount Eternal. Could it be that the immortal venerable sovereign didn't die? That's impossible. Many people were shocked and skeptical. Soon, a tall figure appeared in front of everyone. It was a middle-aged man. No, it's a puppet. A heavenly emperor powerhouse spoke up and saw through the situation. The middle-aged man was a puppet. So it's a puppet. It must have been left behind by the undying emperor. Many people's hearts moved and their eyes gathered on the puppet. The middle-aged man-like puppet spoke, his voice loud and clear, spreading in all directions. By the will of the undying heavenly emperor, the undying ancient scroll will be born and reappeared in the world. His words made everyone's heart beat faster and their eyes lit up. The indestructible ancient scroll was really about to be born. Many people's eyes were burning with passion. However, the undying heavenly emperor has ordered that those who wish to obtain the indestructible ancient scroll must go through a test. The middle-aged puppet continued. May I ask, what kind of test do one need to go through? A heavenly emperor expert asked. It's very simple. First, let's start with the celestial emperor. Those who become a celestial emperor within 10,000 years, please enter Mount Eternal and pass the test. Then you can obtain the indestructible ancient scroll. You don't have to try to deceive me. I have my own way of knowing if you have broken through to the heavenly emperor realm within 10,000 years. The golem said. What? How is it possible to become a heavenly emperor in 10,000 years? Immediately, those heavenly emperor-level figures could not remain calm. The others were also tongue-tied. To become a heavenly emperor within 10,000 years was too difficult. After reaching the martial emperor realm, it would be extremely difficult to improve. For those who lack talent, a single closed-door cultivation could last more than 10,000 years. For some people, it might take more than 10,000 years to advance a small realm. It might even take tens of thousands of years or even hundreds of thousands of years. To become a heavenly emperor within 10,000 years, the conditions were too harsh. It seems that there isn't. The middle-aged puppet sighed. Aren't these conditions a little too harsh? Some heavenly emperors were unwilling to accept this. This is the rule set by the venerable sovereign. I have no right to change it. The middle-aged puppet said. The heavenly emperors sighed and were extremely unwilling. It was a pity that no one had met the conditions. Since there's no one else, let's go down. Those who break through to great emperor within 1,000 years can enter Mount Eternal for the test. The middle-aged puppet continued. 1,000 years to become a great emperor? The faces of the great emperor realm experts also turned pale. Becoming a great emperor in 1,000 years wasn't as difficult as becoming a heavenly emperor in 10,000 years. However, it was still extremely difficult in essence. The great emperors looked at each other before shaking their heads. No one could meet the conditions. You don't have any? Then let's continue. Those who become true emperors in 100 years can enter Mount Eternal for the test. The middle-aged puppet continued. 100 years to become a true emperor? Aha, wasn't this tailor-made for me? Mere. Dandan grinned and laughed, extremely excited. In a sense, Dandan had already been reborn. This life was a new one. He had indeed stepped into the true emperor realm within 100 years. Other than Dandan, there were also some other people who flew into the sky. There were more than 10 people. There were quite a few of them who became true emperors in 100 years. The 9 absolutes of the younger generation all broke through to the true emperor realm within 100 years. There are also some other heaven's favorites who are almost 100 years old. Look, there are at least 7 of the 9 unique youths. Someone cried out in alarm. Lu Ming focused his gaze. Indeed, among the dozen people there were some who looked particularly young. They seemed to be in their 20s. There were both men and women. There were also a few others who looked to be in their 30s. These people had all become true emperors within 100 years. Lu Ming had previously learned that the 9 unique youths were the 9 most outstanding talents among the younger generation in the heaven realm. Each of these 9 people had entered the true emperor realm. Countless people looked at him with envy. Being able to take the test at Mount Eternal meant that there was a chance of obtaining the indestructible ancient scroll. More than a dozen people flew towards Mount Eternal. When they got close to Mount Eternal, the middle-aged puppet waved his hand and a door of light appeared in the sky. "You guys can go in," the middle-aged puppet said. Immediately, the dozen of them rushed into the light door and disappeared. "The assessment will take some time. Let's wait." The middle-aged puppet sat down cross-legged and closed its eyes to rest. The others quietly waited for them to wake up, but more than 10 days had passed, and the people who had entered still had not come out. Lu Ming took out a Monarch weapon and sat cross-legged on it. He closed his eyes to comprehend the laws. Now he was only left with the life law. He had yet to reach the first stage of perfection. As long as his life law reached the first stage of perfection, he could start to break through to the martial emperor realm. Therefore he had to seize the time. Time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. At this moment, there was finally some movement from Mount Eternal. Mount Eternal glowed. With a slight shake, a dozen figures appeared outside Mount Eternal. They were the dozen people who had entered Mount Eternal. Everyone's eyes were on them, full of anticipation. Had any of these people obtained the indestructible ancient scroll? However, all of them were dejected and unwilling to give up. How is it? What's the situation inside? Many people began to ask. Dandan also flew back. Chapter 2237. Chapter 2237, Entering Mount Eternal? Chapter 2237. Chapter 2237 Entering Mount Eternal. Dandan, what's the situation inside? Did you get the indestructible ancient scroll? Lu Ming asked hurriedly. Don't ask me, one wants some time alone. Dandan pulled a long face, extremely depressed and unwilling. This guy must have failed, chirp chirp. Paoba mocked. Nonsense, how could one have failed? I'm telling you, I'm the only one who succeeded, but that old man, the undying venerable emperor, is vengeful and refuses to pass the indestructible ancient scroll to me. I'm not willing to accept this, that old man is vengeful and narrow-minded. Dandan shouted as if she had gone mad. Lu Ming, Bubbles, Gu Yingchong and the rest widened their eyes. Did Dandan really succeed? He passed the test. He couldn't be bragging, right? On the side, the others naturally also heard Dandan's words, but they all cast contemptuous looks at Dandan. If he didn't pass, then so be it. But he was still bragging as if he knew the undying venerable sovereign. No one believed Dandan's words. Why didn't the undying venerable sovereign teach you the indestructible ancient scroll? Lu Ming asked. He really believed that Dandan had passed the assessment. Dandan was one of the top 10 war beasts, the world turtle. Her previous memories had been completely restored, and her combat strength was shockingly high. If even Dandan couldn't pass the test, then no one could. That guy is narrow-minded and narrow-minded. One only took something from him in the past. Is there a need to hold a grudge until now? Dandan was very unhappy and gritted her teeth. You took something? Lu Ming understood. This guy definitely took more than a few things. He must have offended the undying supreme emperor in the past. Around them, the others were even more disdainful. This guy was speaking as if he was speaking the truth. Wait. Lu Ming suddenly thought of something and sent a voice transmission to Dandan. According to what you're saying, could it be that the immortal venerable sovereign is still alive? She's dead. She's dead. It's only my guess that he holds a grudge. Otherwise, why didn't he give me the indestructible ancient scroll? Dandan pouted and huffed angrily. Dandan, What's the content of the assessment inside? Lu Ming asked. No one has obtained the indestructible ancient scroll. Now, those who have become Saint Emperors before the age of 50 will enter the examination. Hurry up. The middle-aged puppet urged, as if it didn't want the people who had entered before to reveal too much of the situation inside. Those who became a Saint Emperor before the age of 50. The eyes of Guingzhong, Mulan, and the others all lit up. Let's go. The lone shadow repeated. At this moment, there were already many figures flying towards Mount Eternal. Becoming a Saint Emperor before 50, one haven't, so one can't go in? No, let's go and try. Many thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. He did not think much and flew over as well. There were a lot of people who became emperors before the age of 50, more than 1,000 of them. In the past, during the Ten Lands battle, there were 1 to 200 people in the primordial realm who became emperors before the age of 50. As for the heaven realm, whether it was the cultivation environment or the cultivation resources, it was better than the primordial realm. The inheritance was more complete, and it had been more than 5 years since the Battle of the Ten Lands. Naturally, there were more people who had become emperors. Therefore, there were a lot of people in the heaven realm who became emperors at the age of 50. This was only a portion of them. There were definitely more people who hadn't come yet, or there would be even more. In the crowd, Lu Ming saw Heng Xinghe and Yuan Xan as well as Lan Yun, Yan Shi and the rest. They also saw Lu Ming. Senior, this person hasn't become a Saint Emperor yet. He wants to fish in troubled waters and sneak in. Lan Yun suddenly called out to the middle-aged puppet. There was a gloominess in Lu Ming's eyes. The middle-aged puppet looked at Lu Ming with a sharp gaze, as if he wanted to see through Lu Ming. Lan Yun, Yan Shi, Heng Xinghe and the others sneered. How was it possible for Lu Ming to sneak in? He would definitely be punished by the middle-aged puppet. At this moment, the middle-aged puppet's eyes revealed a look of surprise. It seemed to be very surprised and then it nodded. His situation is special. He can go in. Ah! Lan Yun, Yan Shi and the others were dumbfounded. Detestable. Then they gritted their teeth. These idiots, chirp chirp. Bubbles cried out, gloating over her misfortune. Lan Yun and the others had unsightly expressions as they gloomily charged into the door of light. Lu Ming, Bubbles, Mulan, Gu Yingchong and the rest also entered the light door one after another. The next moment, Lu Ming realized that he had appeared on a platform. At this moment, there were at least 100 people gathered on the platform. In front of the platform there was a wide road that slanted upwards. Is this place inside Mount Eternal? Does this road lead to the top of the mountain? Lu Ming pondered. Then he turned to look in another direction. He discovered that there were a total of 9 platforms, and in the middle of the platforms was a pitch-black abyss, separated from each other. Each platform had a wide path that slanted upwards. 9 platforms, 9 paths. On each platform, there were more than 100 or 1,000 people, divided equally among the 9 platforms. Bubbles, Mulan and Gu Yingchong were all on Lu Ming's platform. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky. It looked exactly like the middle-aged puppet from before, but it was clearly just an illusion. For the first test, you'll pass as long as you walk to the end of this road. Let's go. The figure spoke and then disappeared. Bus. Whoosh. Immediately, some people rushed up the road and ran forward, afraid that they would be one step slower and someone else would beat them to it. Boom. Boom. However, just as these people were rushing on the road, there was a rumbling sound. Above the road, bolts of lightning appeared out of thin air and kept striking towards them. Bang. Some people couldn't resist it and retreated while coughing blood. Someone blocked the lightning and continued to move upwards. However, the lightning continued to strike towards the crowd. This path is indeed not that simple. Let's go up. Lu Ming said and the few of them rushed on the road. This road looked very old but it was very wide. Hundreds of people could walk side by side without any problem. When they stepped onto the ancient road, bolts of lightning appeared out of thin air and struck towards them. Lu Ming waved his hand and dispersed the lightning that was striking him. The power of this lightning is very weak. Lu Ming was surprised to find that the lightning that struck him was not powerful at all. He had blocked it easily. At the same time, Bubbles, Gu Yingchong, Mulan, and the rest had all blocked the lightning. That's not right. It seems that people of different cultivation bases face different levels of lightning. This test is based on cultivation. Lu Ming discovered the secret. It was obvious that those with higher cultivation levels did not have any advantage here. The test here would eliminate one's cultivation base and adjust the power of the lightning. It was impossible to pass by relying on cultivation. One had to rely on talent and combat power that was beyond one's level. It was no wonder that the lightning that struck Lu Ming was not powerful. Lu Ming's cultivation level was not high to begin with. Lu Ming and the rest stepped forward. They were very relaxed at the beginning. Chapter 2238. Chapter 2238, Stepping on the Ancient Road. Chapter 2238. Chapter 2238 Stepping on the Ancient Road. Lu Ming was naturally very relaxed. The lightning here did not pose any pressure to him. As for Bubbles, she was a spacetime spirit mouse, so she naturally did not feel any pressure. Guingzhong was a top-tier heaven's favorite, so he didn't feel any pressure either. Mulan had inherited the legacy of a peerless powerhouse. Her battle prowess was also very strong, and she also advanced with ease. However, the others were not as relaxed. Many people vomited blood from being struck by the lightning, and their bodies were charred black. They had no choice but to retreat to the platform. Some people were unwilling to give up. They wanted to step on the air and rush up, but they realized that it was impossible. A powerful force was suppressing them, making them unable to fly. Many people had no choice but to stop, knowing that they had no fate with the indestructible ancient scroll. Some of the stronger heaven's favorites continued to advance, especially those who could control multiple laws and even an ultimate law. Their speed was extremely fast and they kept rising. The four of them, Lu Ming and Pao Pao, moved forward at a uniform speed. The higher they went, the more powerful the lightning became. Selah. Lightning streaked across the sky, striking at Lu Ming continuously. Lu Ming's body was surrounded by laws and he had set up a defense. The lightning could not break through his defense at all. Pao Pao and the rest followed Lu Ming and kept moving forward. Arg? A young man cried out as he was charred black by the lightning and his body almost cracked. He cried out as he was sent flying and crashed onto the stage, but he did not die. In this place, at most, he would be severely injured. He would not die. Every time they advanced, there would be people who would be blasted down. No one knew how long this ancient path was. Lu Ming and the rest walked for 3 days, during which they were constantly struck by lightning. 3 days later, at least half of the people were eliminated. After 3 days of walking, the lightning finally stopped. However, before they could celebrate, the temperature on the ancient road dropped sharply as they continued to move forward. An endless chill drilled into their bodies, trying to freeze them. As they continued to move forward, the coldness decreased even more, and the temperature dropped to a shocking level. Someone couldn't resist it. His entire body was frozen and turned into an ice sculpture. Then, with a bang, the frozen person was thrown out. He was probably thrown off the platform. Hoo-hoo, a cold wind blew over and it was bone-chilling. There were even snowflakes falling from the sky. A young man screamed as he was almost cut in half by a snowflake. He spat out blood and was sent flying. These snowflakes were even sharper than the heavenly blade. Every piece of the void was a great killing weapon. Everyone focused their attention to block. All kinds of attacks were constantly blasted out, colliding with the snowflakes and producing clanging sounds. Some people couldn't resist and were blown down, while others carried the snowflakes and continued forward. The further they went, the more concentrated the snowflakes became. In the end, the sky was filled with snow, and the power was extremely shocking. Whoosh. The snowflakes landed on Lu Ming's defense law. They were like extremely sharp weapons, cutting at Lu Ming's defense law and producing the sound of metal clashing. At the same time, there was a bone-chilling cold that wanted to rush into Lu Ming's body, but he blocked it with the power of law. There were fewer and fewer people who could reach this point. Lu Ming discovered that the situation of the other 8 ancient roads was exactly the same as them. The tests they had experienced were also the same. Just like that, a few more days passed. They crossed the land of ice, but what they faced was a land of flames. In front of him, the flames were burning fiercely, and the power was shocking. Every time he passed a region, the test he faced in the next region would be stronger. At this point, Mulan began to struggle. After all, she had just become a Saint Emperor. Her comprehension of the laws was slightly weaker, and it was already a bit forced. As they continued to move forward, Mulan's face started to turn pale. "Senior sister Mulan, if you can't withstand it, don't force yourself," Lu Ming said. "I'm fine, I can still hold on." Mulan stubbornly raised her head and continued to walk forward. After a few more days, they crossed the area and arrived at a place with strong winds. The endless wind was like countless sharp weapons, cutting them with even more terrifying power. At this point, Lu Ming had to be serious. Mulan, on the other hand, was finally unable to withstand the attack. With a muffled groan, she retreated. The violent wind cut a few wounds on her body, causing blood to flow out. "Senior Sister Mulan, don't force yourself," Lu Ming shouted. They could not help each other here. They could only rely on themselves. Mulan gritted her teeth and sighed in the end. She took a step forward and leaped backward. This was equivalent to admitting defeat. A force appeared out of thin air and pulled on Mulan, and her figure disappeared. Lu Ming, Bubbles, and the Lonely Shadow continued to move forward. This road was very long, as if there was no end. The few of them continued forward and experienced all sorts of trials. There were places filled with poison, places filled with curses, and also mountains of blades and seas of swords. After nearly a month, Gu Yingchong finally couldn't resist and was sent flying. Only a few people were left on this road. It was the same for the other lanes. There were not many people left. For example, Lan Yun and Yan Shi had been eliminated. However, Lu Ming saw that Yuan Xian and Tianming were still persevering. After a few days, there were only 3 people left on Lu Ming's path. Lu Ming, Bubbles, and an extremely beautiful woman. This woman's talent was also astonishingly high. She had mastered more laws than Gu Yingchong, and her maturity was even more profound, which was why she could reach this point. The other 8 paths were about the same. There were only a few people left in each path. The road has reached its end. Suddenly, the beautiful woman's eyes lit up. There was no path ahead. The ancient path had already come to an end. Lu Ming's face also revealed a look of joy. At this moment, a figure reappeared. "Congratulations on passing the first test. Next it's time for the second test." With that, the ancient road in front of Lu Ming and the rest suddenly wriggled. Then 3 platforms appeared. 3, one for each person. It was the same for the other ancient roads. The number of people would determine the number of platforms. "Choose a platform at will and place your palm on it," the figure said. Lu Ming and the rest went forward and randomly chose a platform. They then placed their palms on the platform. The platform was smooth and cold to the touch. But when their palms touched the platform emitted an infinite amount of light. Countless runes appeared on it, following Lu Ming's palms and enveloping their bodies. Boom. At this moment, Lu Ming felt that the world was spinning. The surrounding environment had changed. He had arrived in a void. In the void, there were rays of light shining. Then a ray of light suddenly rushed toward Lu Ming like a sharp sword. Lu Ming was shocked. He quickly released his holy power, controlled the law, and slapped out. Boom. The ray of light was sent flying by Lu Ming's palm. Chapter 2239. Chapter 2238, Life Law Breakthrough? Chapter 2239. Chapter 2238 Life Law Breakthrough. A ray of light flew towards Lu Ming but was sent flying by his palm. However, the light did not dissipate. After being sent flying, it floated in the distance and the light became even more dazzling. This is the power of laws and the laws of chaos. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Whoosh! The ray of light that contained the laws of chaos moved again. Like a flying sword, it crossed the void and slashed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming controlled the power of law and was about to counterattack when he was shocked. This was because other than this beam of light, there were other beams of light that were rushing toward Lu Ming. Each ray of light was like a sword light, extremely powerful. Lu Ming did not dare to be careless. The sword of death condensed in his hand and circulated the holy power to the extreme, slashing 9 times in an instant. Clang, clang, clang. The sword of death collided with the 9 types of light like battle swords. Sparks flew everywhere and the sound of metal clashing could be heard. The 9 beams of light were sent flying by Lu Ming. 9 types of nomological laws, corresponding to my nomological laws. Lu Ming raised his eyebrows. He could tell that the 9 lights represented 9 types of laws, which were exactly the same as the 9 types of laws that Lu Ming controlled. 9 beams of light floated in the distance, and the light grew brighter and brighter. Whoosh, whoosh. Then the 9 beams of light moved again. Their speed was even more shocking than before. They attacked Lu Ming from 9 different directions. Lu Ming was highly focused. He used all 9 types of laws and surrounded himself. At the same time, the sword of death contained 7 types of laws. But first of all, there was a sword gleam that was aimed at Lu Ming from behind. It was a sword gleam formed by the penetrating law. Its speed was so fast that it was beyond human reaction. Lu Ming bellowed and slashed backward, blocking the sword light. However, in other directions the sword light formed by the laws had arrived. It was like a stream of light and its speed was extremely fast. Lu Ming cast his 6-feathered divine wings and dodged with all his might. At the same time, he continued to slash out in the midst of death, sending out dense sword light that densely covered the surroundings. Even so, the sword gleam formed by the law still missed and broke through Lu Ming's defense, leaving a sword wound on his body. Blood flowed out and half of Lu Ming's body was numb. Lu Ming quickly circulated the life law and finally sealed the wound. It also recovered quickly. However, the attacks of the nomological sword lights were far from over. That was only the beginning. Whoosh, whoosh. Beams of light crisscrossed. 9 types of dazzling law lights continuously charged at Lu Ming. Their speed became faster and faster. They could even develop sword moves on their own, and their power was even more shocking. Lu Ming tried his best to block and dodge, but he could not completely block it. There were many wounds on his body. This won't do. My attack is too scattered. One can't block it completely like this. One have to spread out the laws. Lu Ming's mind whirred. Then he had an idea. The 9 types of laws that he controlled scattered and flew out separately. They turned into 9 rays of light and flew toward the sword gleam formed by the 9 laws. However, Lu Ming was controlling 9 types of laws at the same time and his speed was obviously much slower than his opponent. Not only did he fail to block the attack, but he also caused himself to be attacked by even more nomological sword gleams. Lu Ming could only use the 6 feathered divine wings to dodge, but he was still cut by a few sword radiances and bled. This method is correct. I'm too unfamiliar with controlling the laws and am not familiar with it. Otherwise, I would definitely be able to block it. Lu Ming dodged quickly while he continued to control the law to resist. In the beginning, Lu Ming could not block it at all. It was because he was too unfamiliar with the use of the law and it was difficult for him to keep up with the other party's speed. However, as time passed, Lu Ming became more and more skilled in the use of the law. He could finally catch up with the other party's speed. 7 days later, Lu Ming had blocked most of the sword radiance. After a month, Lu Ming would be able to block all the sword gleams. Lu Ming felt that his usage of the laws had greatly improved. His understanding of each law had also deepened. To Lu Ming there was no doubt about the benefits. Now that he had cast the self-created hammer of chaos and sword of death, the power had increased greatly. Lu Ming estimated that he had finally reached the small success stage. Moreover, it would be of great help to Lu Ming if he wanted to create new divine abilities in the future. This was because Lu Ming was more familiar with the use of various laws and had a deeper understanding of each law. Naturally, he could combine new divine powers according to different laws. However, at this moment, the laws that were attacking Lu Ming suddenly changed. It was no longer a single sword light. Some laws turned into true dragons, some into phoenixes, some into chilants, some into golden-winged great pungs. The 9 types of laws transformed into 9 different divine beasts. Moreover, they were all top-notch divine beasts that evolved into different attacks. In this case, it was more difficult for Lu Ming to deal with it. As this was a more advanced application of the law, Lu Ming could not keep up and could only take the beating passively. Immediately he began to get injured again. Lu Ming began to try. He transformed the 9 types of laws into different divine beasts to fight against the other party. However, this process was extremely difficult, even more so than the previous ones. Lu Ming did not give up. He knew that this was the only feasible method. This time it took even longer. Lu Ming finally succeeded after fighting against the 9 types of laws for 2 months. Lu Ming transformed the 9 types of laws into different divine beasts, fighting against the other party's 9 types of laws and killing each other. It was difficult to determine the winner in a short time. I finally made a breakthrough in my life laws. Lu Ming's face was full of smiles. During this period of time, after constant resistance, his life law had finally broken through and reached the perfected first level. The 9 types of laws that he controlled had already reached the limits of the first realm. Moreover, he was able to use them with ease. Lu Ming felt that he could break through to the martial emperor realm at any time. This time, even if I don't get the indestructible ancient scroll, I've already gained enough. Lu Ming's smile grew wider. His greatest gain this time was not the breakthrough in the life laws, but his stronger use of the 9 laws and deeper understanding of the laws. These were all hidden wealth. They could not be seen now, but they would be of great use in Lu Ming's future cultivation process. In the future, Lu Ming's cultivation would have fewer detours and it would be of great help to him in creating his own divine power. This was an invisible wealth. But at this moment, the void around them began to shake. The godly beasts formed by the 9 laws collapsed and disappeared one after another. The void also shattered like a mirror. Lu Ming felt his head spinning. The next moment he realized that he was back on the ancient road. His palm was still on the platform. At this moment, the ancient road under Lu Ming's feet began to change. Originally, this ancient road had already reached its end. But now, it suddenly extended all the way to the front. I've succeeded. Lu Ming revealed a look of joy. Chapter 2240. Chapter 2240, Obtaining the Indestructible Ancient Scroll. Chapter 2240. Chapter 2240, Obtaining the Indestructible Ancient Scroll. Originally, this path had already come to an end. But now the ancient path continued on. This meant that he had succeeded. Brother Lu Ming, you've succeeded, Chirpy? Bubbles cried out in excitement. Lu Ming swept his gaze across and realized that there was no platform in front of Bubbles and the stunning woman. The platform had disappeared. At this moment, a shocking aura came from other directions. Lu Ming swept his gaze around and found that it was the young geniuses from the other 8 roads. These people were looking at Lu Ming's side with fiery eyes. The platforms in front of them had disappeared. Only a platform remained in front of Lu Ming. Bubble, what happened? Did you all fail? Lu Ming asked. That's right. The others all failed half a month ago. Once they failed, the platform disappeared. You're the only one who has persisted until now, Bubbles explained. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that he was the only one who had succeeded. Bubble, let's go. Lu Ming smiled and stepped forward. Bubbles and the beautiful lady followed suit. However, when Bubbles and the stunning lady stepped onto the new ancient path, they were blocked by an invisible force and could not take a single step. However, it had no effect on him. Brother Lu Ming, the Bubbles can't go up. Chirp chirp. Pow Pow pouted, extremely unhappy. He'll help you. Lu Ming walked back and wanted to pull Bubbles up with him. However, he realized that he could not even go up. Brother Lu Ming, you can go up alone, Pow Pow said. In the end, Lu Ming had no choice but to give up and head towards the ancient road alone. The gazes of the youths on the other 8 paths all fell on Lu Ming. Some sighed, some were envious, and some were jealous. Lu Ming moved forward and slowly disappeared from everyone's sight. My physical body and Saint power have improved again. As he walked, Lu Ming could feel the changes in his body. Previously, when the life law reached the completion of the first level, it tempered the body and Saint power. This was an ultimate law, and its effect on the tempering of the body and Saint power was very amazing. His body became stronger and his Saint power became more condensed. In terms of quality, Lu Ming's current holy energy was not inferior to the world energy at all. In fact, it was even stronger. Lu Ming's combat strength had undoubtedly increased. There was nothing unusual for the rest of the journey. It was very calm. Lu Ming quickened his pace and soon he reached the end of the road. In front of them was a huge and magnificent palace. In front of the palace was a white jade square. In the sky above the white jade square, there was a ball of light that was extremely bright. What is this? Lu Ming's gaze was attracted by the ball of light. He squinted and realized that the core of the light was a small piece of glass-like shard that was crystal clear and bright. The moment Lu Ming stepped into the white jade square, the ball of light charged at him at an astonishing speed. Lu Ming was shocked. He instinctively wanted to dodge, but it was too late. The ball of light flew directly into the space between Lu Ming's eyebrows and disappeared. Boom. At this moment, there was an additional fragment in Lu Ming's mind. This is the indestructible ancient scroll. Lu Ming was overjoyed. This was because as long as his soul power got close to this fragment, he would be able to sense some information. Bang. At this moment, the fragment actually exploded and turned into waves of energy. It combined with Lu Ming's soul and became one. Then a piece of information surged into Lu Ming's mind. It really is the indestructible ancient scroll. Lu Ming felt as if the indestructible ancient scroll had become one with him. As long as he willed it, the indestructible ancient scroll would appear in his mind and he would be able to comprehend it. This was very different from what Lu Ming had expected. Previously, Lu Ming had thought that the indestructible ancient scripture was a scripture or stored in a jade talisman. He did not expect that it would enter his mind in such a form. Can I inscribe the indestructible ancient scroll? At the thought of this, a jade talisman appeared in Lu Ming's hand. He wanted to engrave the cultivation method of the indestructible ancient scroll into the jade talisman. However, when he wanted to inscribe it, he was at a loss. He didn't know where to start. He had no idea where to start. He only needed to think about it, and the cultivation method of the indestructible ancient scroll would appear in his mind. However, when he wanted to inscribe it, he couldn't grasp the divine rhythm. It felt high and mighty and he didn't know where to start. Lu Ming was stunned. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Lu Ming. It was the figure that looked exactly like the middle-aged puppet. Don't even think about inscribing it, your cultivation is too low, you can't do it at all. The middle-aged man spoke. Senior, what's going on? Why is it an imprint? Lu Ming asked. Sai, it's already not bad to be able to retain one imprint. Back then, Master was besieged by the foreign races. He died and his Tao dissipated. His soul scattered. In the end, Master was unwilling to let the indestructible ancient scroll be buried just like that. He used his last resort to get a heavenly Tao imprint to bring the indestructible ancient scroll back. At the same time, he gave me some instructions. After that, he lost his last consciousness, and only the indestructible ancient scroll remained. The middle-aged man said. I see. Lu Ming had a sudden realization. At the same time, he felt a sense of sadness. Even an invincible figure like the undying venerable sovereign had fallen, leaving behind only a mark of the great path. He had no choice but to do this. If such a thing had not happened, the undying venerable sovereign could have left behind a scripture or a jade talisman, which would have been a better inheritance. At the same time, Lu Ming also understood why he could not inscribe the ancient indestructible scroll. The indestructible ancient scroll was contained in the heavenly Tao imprint of the indestructible venerable emperor. The heavenly emperor powerhouses had merged with the heavenly Tao. To Lu Ming this was too far away. It was beyond mysterious. Therefore Lu Ming could not grasp it and could not inscribe it. Only when Lu Ming's cultivation level was strong enough in the future would he be able to inscribe the indestructible ancient scroll. Alright, you have obtained the indestructible ancient scroll, and one have completed my mission. Now I will send you out. With that, the middle-aged man waved his hand. Lu Ming immediately felt a powerful force enveloping him. The next moment, there was a fluctuation in the void. Lu Ming disappeared and reappeared outside Mount Eternal, outside the Door of Light. At the same time, the young men in Mount Eternal also disappeared and reappeared outside. It's out. This time it's been 3 months. I wonder if anyone has obtained the indestructible ancient scroll. Many people's eyes lit up as they looked at the thousands of young heaven's favorites who entered. Alright, my mission has been completed. From now on, following the venerable sovereign's last will, Mount Eternal shall sink into the endless void forever. On Mount Eternal, the middle-aged puppet spoke, then turned around to leave. Taoist brother, please wait. At this moment, someone called out to the middle-aged puppet. Chapter 2241. Chapter 2241. Forced by the Celestial Emperor. Chapter 2241. Chapter 2241. Forced by the Celestial Emperor. An expert stepped forward and called out to the middle-aged puppet. Someone recognized that this was a heavenly emperor realm expert. What's the matter? The middle-aged puppet stopped and asked. May first ask if the indestructible ancient scroll has appeared? The heavenly emperor asked. The indestructible ancient scroll has already found its successor. The middle-aged puppet left these words and then took a step forward, disappearing from Mount Eternal. Boom. Then the huge Mount Eternal started to shake and exude a terrifying pressure. The void shattered, revealing the endless dark void. Boom. 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 The majestic Mount Eternal rumbled and began to move. It flew into the endless dark void and disappeared. Then the cracked space healed and returned to its original state. Mount Eternal had disappeared. He would sink into the dark void forever. But at this moment, no one had the time to lament the disappearance of Mount Eternal. Their attention was focused on the middle-aged puppet's words. The indestructible ancient scroll had already found its successor. This meant that the indestructible ancient scroll had already been obtained by someone else. And it was among these thousands of heaven's favorites. Everyone's eyes were on the thousands of young heaven's favorites. This included the heavenly emperor powerhouses. The thousands of young heaven's favorites were all sizing each other up. In the end, more than 10 young men's gazes fell on Lu Ming. These heaven's favorites had all passed the first test in Mount Eternal. However, they had all failed the second test. They all saw that Lu Ming had passed the second round of assessment and continued to move forward. If anyone had obtained the indestructible ancient scroll, it would definitely be Lu Ming. Some people's eyes were filled with jealousy. Who among you has obtained the indestructible ancient scroll? Step forward. A heavenly emperor expert spoke. A wisp of aura emanated from his body, as if it was the heavenly Tao. It represented this world and it made one's heart tremble. Lu Ming frowned but did not say anything. Who is it? Come out. Another celestial the arch stepped out. His eyes were like two stars, shining with a brilliant light as he swept his gaze over Lu Ming and the others. Lord Heavenly Emperor, I know who has obtained the indestructible ancient scroll. Suddenly a young man spoke. Lu Ming had forgotten his past. It was a young man with short hair. Oh, who is it? One of the Heavenly Emperors asked. It's him, Lu Ming. The short-haired youth pointed at Lu Ming. What? It's actually him. The scene was in an uproar. Many people did not believe it. Wasn't Lu Ming not a Saint Emperor yet? How did he manage to obtain the indestructible ancient scroll? What was going on? It's indeed him. Among all of us, he was the only one who made it to the end. If there's anyone who has obtained the indestructible ancient scroll, it has to be him. Another young man said. Following that, a few other young men pointed out that Lu Ming had obtained the indestructible ancient scroll. He actually got it, damn it. Lan Yun, Yan Shi, and the others from the Hengxing River were all filled with jealousy. At the scene, almost everyone's eyes were on Lu Ming. Lu Ming, did you get the indestructible ancient scroll? Tell me the truth, it's best not to lie. One of the Heavenly Emperors looked at Lu Ming and said in a cold and aloof voice. It's the Lan family's Heavenly Emperor. Someone whispered nearby. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. It seemed that this Heavenly Emperor came from Lan Yun's clan. That's right, him, the one who obtained the indestructible ancient scroll. Lu Ming frowned but eventually admitted it. After all, so many people had seen him pass the second stage and he was the only one who had made it to the end. As long as one wasn't an idiot, they would know that the indestructible ancient scroll had definitely been obtained by him. There was no use in denying it, so it was better to admit it directly. Many people's eyes lit up. The Lan family's Celestial Thearch and the other Celestial Thearch's eyes lit up with a burning flame. Now, hand over the indestructible ancient scroll. The Lan family's Celestial Thearch said. His eyes were burning with passion as he stared at Lu Ming. Normally, it would be very difficult for a Heavenly Emperor realm powerhouse to have such a fluctuation in his heart. However, the indestructible ancient scroll's temptation was too strong. It was an ancient scroll that shook the heaven realm, and it was the most powerful life-saving ancient scroll. Even a Heavenly Emperor would be tempted by it. That's right, hurry up and take it out. The other Celestial Emperor also spoke coldly. They had a haughty look on their faces and their tone was cold and overbearing. They demanded Lu Ming to hand over the ancient scripture in an aggressive manner. It was as if Lu Ming had no choice but to do as they said. What kind of attitude is this? Dandan was unhappy and shouted, "This is the opportunity that Lu Ming obtained. It is his personal opportunity. He can pass it to whoever he wants?" The Lan family's Heavenly Emperor glanced at Dandan coldly and said, "What a joke. The indestructible ancient scroll is a treasure of the heaven realm. How can he swallow it all by himself? Hand it over and everyone's combat power will be improved. This is beneficial to the entire heaven realm. So what if this is the case? After all, this was what Lu Ming had obtained through his own hard work. It belonged to him. Was this the attitude they had when they asked others to take out their own treasures? Why are you acting so overbearing? Can't you just ask for a favor?" Dandan shouted. "How dare you? What kind of person is the Heavenly Emperor? He was just asking him to take out an ancient scripture. Why did he need to invite him? Can he bear the responsibility?" Lan Yun shouted. "Hee, there's nothing amazing about being a Celestial Emperor." Dandan pouted. "How dare you insult the Celestial Emperor? This is a capital crime." Lan Yun roared in anger. But Dandan pouted and ignored him. The Lan family's Heavenly Emperor and the other Heavenly Emperors cast a few cold glances at Dandan. With their eyesight they could naturally see Dandan's true form. They did not say anything and continued to look at Lu Ming. "Lu Ming, hand over the indestructible ancient scroll." The Lan family's Celestial Thearch spoke with an air of superiority as if it was only natural for him to ask Lu Ming to hand it over. Dandan gritted her teeth in anger. "Seniors, if one could hand it over, I would definitely do so. Unfortunately, I can't." Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. Although he was furious, he understood that he could only compromise when facing a Heavenly Emperor expert. There was no way to resist because the difference in power was too great. He could be crushed into pieces with just a breath from the other party. Even if he had a Celestial Emperor's corporeal body, it would be useless. "You can't hand it over? What do you mean by that?" The Lan family's Heavenly Emperor and the other Heavenly Emperor's eyes glinted coldly. That's because when the Undying Emperor was besieged by the alien races, his soul was destroyed and he didn't leave behind any secret manual that recorded the Undying Ancient Scroll. He only used a heavenly Tao imprint to carry the undying ancient scroll back to Mount Eternal. What I obtained was the Heaven Tao imprint of the undying Heavenly Emperor. However, the Heaven Tao imprint is too mysterious. With my current cultivation, I can't inscribe the undying ancient scroll. Therefore I can't hand it over. Lu Ming explained. Nonsense. He's just spouting nonsense. Yanxi called out. That's right. He doesn't want to hand over the indestructible ancient scroll and wants to keep it for himself. That's why he came up with such a ridiculous excuse. He's too selfish. Lan Yun followed suit. The Lan family, Celestial the Arch and the rest looked at Lu Ming with deep doubts. They obviously did not believe him. Chapter 2242, The Heng Yu Heavenly Emperor? Chapter 2242, The Heng Yu Heavenly Emperor. Lu Ming cast a cold glance at Lan Yun and Yanxi, then said, If you don't believe me, I can project the scene. Lu Ming then looked at Dandan and said, Dandan, project the images in my memory and let everyone see it clearly. All right. Dandan came in front of Lu Ming and pointed her finger between Lu Ming's eyebrows. Dandan cast the soul-searching technique and projected the image in Lu Ming's soul. This was not difficult. As long as Lu Ming did not resist, anyone could do it. Soon after, Dandan waved her hand, and an image appeared in the sky. This scene was the scene of Lu Ming at the White Jade Square in Mount Eternal. In the sky, the dazzling mark of the heavenly Tao flew into Lu Ming's glabella. Then there were images that Lu Ming could not inscribe and the middle-aged man's explanation. Everything was clear. Lu Ming was not lying. How could this be? Detestable. Someone bellowed, revealing a look of deep disappointment. The Lan family's heavenly emperor and the others were equally disappointed. As for Lan Yun, Yanxi and the others, their faces were ugly. He did not expect that the truth was as Lu Ming said. At this moment, Dandan finished her work and the image disappeared. Everyone, this is the truth. One can't hand over the indestructible ancient scroll now. Lu Ming said. Since you can't hand it over, I can only strip your soul and strip you of the indestructible ancient scroll. The Celestial the Arch of the Lan family said coldly. Lu Ming's pupils constricted at her words. Meanwhile, Bubble and Dandan were even more furious. Senior, this is too much. The heavenly Tao mark has already fused into Lu Ming's soul. If we forcefully remove it, Lu Ming's soul will definitely not be able to withstand it and will be crippled. The master of the Gu family finally couldn't stand it anymore and spoke. The remaining small group of people also couldn't bear it. But most of them had cold eyes. So what if I'm crippled? The Lan family's heavenly emperor said coldly. He has a crippled body and will never become a saint emperor. It's a waste for him to possess the indestructible ancient scroll. Although it's impossible for everyone to see it, it's still better to give it to a top heaven's favorite than to keep it on him. Lan Qing, you're the heavenly emperor, yet you're forcing a junior like this. Don't you feel ashamed? At this moment, a disdainful voice sounded. Many people were shocked. Who was it that dared to speak to the Lan clan's Celestial the Arch in such a manner? At this moment, ripples appeared in the void. With a crack, the space split open and a figure stepped out. This person looked to be around 30 years old. He was dressed in white and had an unparalleled charm. Lu Ming's eyes widened at the sight of this person. This was because he was too familiar with this person's appearance. The Heng Yu Heavenly Emperor. This person was the Heng Yu Heavenly Emperor. He looked exactly the same as the Heng Yu Heavenly Emperor. Lu Ming could not be mistaken. After all, the Heng Yu Heavenly Emperor's physical body was still in Lu Ming's hands. Back then, Heavenly Emperor Heng Yu had told him that he had once been seriously injured, and his soul had almost been destroyed. He had never expected to reform his body and reform it. Later, Heavenly Emperor Heng Yu had left his stone body in the primordial realm and suppressed it in the Lotus world. Heavenly Emperor Heng Yu himself had come to the Heaven realm and fought in the Heaven realm. Lu Ming did not expect to see the Heng Yu Heavenly Emperor here. Heng Yu, it's you. The Lan family's celestial thearch's face darkened. Lu Ming was overjoyed to see the Heng Yu Heavenly Emperor. Of course it's me. What? You're not happy to see me? Heavenly Emperor Heng Yu smiled faintly. Heng Yu, you want to stop me? The Lan clan's Celestial the Arch said coldly. Of course. It's his own fortune that this little guy can obtain the indestructible ancient scroll. Even if he can inscribe it, he can give it to whoever he wants. It's his freedom. Besides, he can't inscribe it now. You, the dignified Celestial Emperor, actually want to strip the indestructible ancient scroll from his soul. This is ridiculous. Heavenly Emperor Heng Yu said, his voice filled with anger. Heng Yu, am doing this for the sake of the Heaven realm. Right now, the Heaven Realm is being besieged by the alien races and is in imminent danger. We don't know when the alien races will break through our defenses. We can't miss anything that can improve the strength of the Heaven Realm. As for Lu Ming, he's a cripple. It's a pure waste to keep the indestructible ancient scroll. It's best for the Heaven Realm to extract it and hand it over to another Heaven's favorite. Heng Yu, I know that you're from the primordial realm just like Lu Ming, but you can't be selfish at this time. The Lan clan's heavenly emperor said. Haha, selfish? Lan Qing, we all know who is the one with selfish motives. Let me ask you, if you extract it, who do you plan to give the indestructible ancient scroll to? Heavenly Emperor Heng Yu said. You don't need to worry about this. The Lan clan's heavenly emperor said. I, Heng Yu, am here. Let's see who can touch Lu Ming today. The Eternal Universe Heavenly Emperor said in an extremely domineering manner. Heng Yu, do you think you can stop us all by yourself? The Lan family's Celestial the Arch said coldly as a terrifying aura burst forth from his body. At the same time, a few other Heavenly Emperors did the same. They stared at the Heng Yu Heavenly Emperor with unfriendly eyes. One of them was the master of the Eternal Star River, the gray-robed Elder. In addition, the Yen clan's Heavenly Emperor was also among them. Do you really think we're easy to bully? At this moment, a rough voice rang out. The void then split open and two more figures walked out. A burly middle-aged man and an old man stood beside the Eternal Universe Heavenly Emperor, both of them exuding a terrifying aura. All of them were Celestial Emperors. What's wrong? Your primordial realm's Celestial Emperor wants to rebel and betray the Heaven Realm first, right? The Lan clan's Celestial the Arch bellowed in fear. The two Heavenly Emperors that came after Heavenly Emperor Heng Yu were both from the primordial realm, and their strength was astonishing. They were terrifyingly powerful. The Lan clan's Heavenly Emperor was especially wary of the Eternal Universe Heavenly Emperor. What a joke, the few of you can't represent the Heaven Realm. Heavenly Emperor Heng Yu laughed coldly. Then let's fight and see if you can protect Lu Ming. I really don't understand. What's the point of protecting a cripple? You don't know the big picture. The master of the Eternal Star River, the gray-robed old man, said coldly. He stepped forward in an extremely powerful manner. Ha ha. At this moment, Lu Ming burst out laughing. His laughter was filled with mockery. Kid, what are you laughing at? The Lan family's Celestial the Arch cast a cold glance at Lu Ming. Now, the Celestial Thearchs were having a conversation and Lu Ming actually dared to laugh so wantonly. This was disrespectful to them. I'm laughing at you guys. Lu Ming pointed at the Lan family's Celestial the Arch, the gray-robed Elder, the Yen family's Celestial the Arch, and the rest. What? Many people were shocked. Lu Ming actually dared to laugh at the Celestial Thearchs. He was audacious and was courting death. The Lan family's Heavenly Emperor and the others looked on with cold eyes as a terrifying aura burst forth. However, it was blocked by the Heavenly Emperor Heng Yu and the others. Brat, you better explain clearly. The Lan clan's Celestial the Arch said coldly. You keep saying that it's a waste to keep the indestructible ancient scroll with me. In my opinion, that's funny. It's a waste to give it to someone else. Only by keeping it with me can it be put to its greatest use. Lu Ming shouted loudly, his voice spreading throughout the entire venue. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.